Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our briefing session for the City of Duncanville City Council meeting, October 15th, 2019. And we have a different change from what we normally do. We have a guest speaker that's coming in tonight for our briefing session, and so that we don't have any delay in doing that, I would like to welcome Commissioner John Wiley Price to come and speak to us. He has some items of interest, and he has with him the Alberta Blair, and Alberta is what Director of Public Works for the county, and also Manisha Reese, Senior Planner. So welcome. Thank you for coming. You are wonderful guests. We're happy to have you here tonight. So, Commissioner, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council, Mr. Manager. We appreciate all the cooperation that Duncanville continues to provide. As the Council and staff will know, Dallas County is entering into its 7th call. Those are projects that we ask you to submit that basically kind of regionalizes transportation, alternative transportation, trails, etc. And I've basically presented to all of my councils. And one of the things we've done, and Duncanville has been a good player in this, as we talk about regionalization. As you know, one of the things that happens when you make your submission to the county is we rate your projects. We rate your projects on connectivity, on mobility, and to some degree, the regionalness of your project. So as we go forward, we're going to talk about Dallas County. Dallas County, as you know, is 955 square miles, 26 cities and towns, and of course, it is divided as near equal in population. However, the caveat to District 3 is that I have 60% of Dallas County. I started in Lower Garland, I follow the Kaufman County line all the way to Combine, the Ellis County line, and then I follow the Ellis County line. There we go. Follow the Ellis County line all the way over to Tarrant County. So 60% of the county. My other colleagues have a lot more density, but my big challenge is this here, which is called unincorporated. I have about 98% of all the unincorporated land in Dallas County. And as such, what we have done is created a department of unincorporated. We had to primarily because we're seeing vast overnight construction, building in the floodplains, a lot that basically flies in the face of what we consider to be what is in the best interest of Dallas County. City of Duncanville, 9th most in what we call road miles, and you're the 5th most populated city that's in District 3. Since 2000, you've received about approximately $147 million, and of course, your MCIP funding in Duncanville has been only to the tune of about $3.1 million. I usually stick this in just to see what my cities are doing. In fact, one of my cities is Sunnyvale. As you know, Sunnyvale does not have public safety until this morning. I basically gave them a 5-year window created. They have basically been contracting with the Sheriff's Department. The problem with that is that they're using approximately 40% of my CAD system. not counting what we call burglar alarms. People in the unincorporated area now running a lot of burglary, what we call home alarm permits. And so what I do is I take, and for the last 5 years, and I'm sure you all have this, but I look at your commercial parcels, I look at where you've gone in your market value, I look at where you are in your taxable value. I also look at your business, personal property taxes, and of course, you know, your residential. When you begin to really vet those numbers, it's interesting. And I know you're gonna probably, just like me, go out to Dallas Central Appraisal District, want to figure out, those of you in real estate, how did you go from 11,959 residential properties in 2015, and now you're at 11,895? You're going to find the same is true when you get to your grand total of your parcels. You only, according to DCAD, 14,400 to 14,411. The values, of course, I guess you care less about your parcels because the values is what you want to drive. But I look at this, in other words, there's no reason that Sunnyvale, and I keep using them because there's no reason they did not have their own public safety. We based the rest of the county, as far as I was concerned, was underwriting them. And so therefore, they have now hired a police chief. They will continue to be on our CAD system, but they have made their application to TCLO, and they are recruiting. District 3 Road and Bridge. Your Director of Public Works has come along with your mayor and your manager and said, look, we want to utilize road and bridge district forces. I probably have I'd have the largest road and bridge district because I have all the unincorporated. And that's what state law requires me to construct and or maintain all roads in the unincorporated area. So if there's 123 miles of unincorporated roads in Dallas County, I've got 119 of those miles. And so we talk about the life cycle based on various conditions and repair. I've had this conversation before. When I became a commissioner 30 years ago, this product called asphalt had a 15-year life. We're lucky now, depending on what you do, if we can get 8 to 9 years life out of it. And so as a result, it has been very costly. So typical repair for road is less than a year. It can vary due to the arrangement of the scope and the typical material. This is what we call our 50/50 or Class B. If you have a road that's on that plan, you provide the materials, I provide the workforce. That's our 50/50 arrangement in terms of that split. Yeah, they're looking for it. Basically, that's Southwest. And I said that with some, tongue in cheek. I think not too long ago, I had an opportunity to commend your police force, and the more I see lately, the more that piece just drives home. I just want to continue to commend them. Best Southwest, Wintergreen Road. Of course, this is a Tri-City project. The road type, and some of you have been through there. Intersection improvement, the bridge, the DWU transmission line. It's been on hold. I think they were over there today installing that 96-inch pipe. And of course, it's going to be a full-lane dividing. Project funding, Dallas County is putting in about $4 million, and the total project cost is $10.8 million. You selected this in 2006. We're just starting construction in 2019, expected to be finished by 2021. According to some of your residents, they've been over there and they're laying the pipe, they're on. Main Street intersection improvement, Camp Wisdom, I-20, this is a county-led project. The intersection improvement study in Main Street, Davis Street, and Center Street. Project funding, Dallas County is putting in about $500,000, and the total project is, of course, $1 million. This is a project that was selected in 2011. Did not get the funding agreement. And this is what's key. And I've said this to some of my other cities. You know, while it really doesn't impact us that much, what we have been, as you know, Dallas County is on a pay-as-you-go model. That means that if you live in Dallas County, you haven't voted on a bond election since 1994. 91. It's been a long day. 91. You haven't voted on a bond election since 1991. And basically, we've leveraged your funding with these major capital improvement projects to begin to go forward. We basically set aside about $40 million each year for major capital projects and another $40 million for what we call facilities project. Of course, with the legislature and 3.5% cap that we all got now, it's getting ready to go away. We're going to have to begin to talk about funding projects. Unfortunately, you know, they don't give you any benefit for being frugal and forward-thinking. Monthly, the city of Duncanville, and the fact that you selected your consultants IEA, and you are basically getting ready for your southern call. And I do want to take this time when I talk about your staff. They're always there. The director, your planners, they're always there in terms of what we call project study meeting. This is the regional Delaware. I know you all know about it by now. But this is the multi-modal pathway and the trail study. This is Southern Dallas County Regional Delaware. Dallas County's put in about $60,000. The total project is $300,000. And of course, the one thing that this was just selected in 2018. It's an ongoing study. We've got a number of pending agreements with regards to this study. And of course, COG is leading this. And they're very interested that all of our cities make sure that we're part of the study. The infamous Loop 9 corridor. As you know, this has been in that 1991 bond election. You gave Dallas County the green light to study Loop 9. Most people don't realize that Loop 9's been on the books since 1952. So we're getting around to it. And when you gave us that green light and we did the study, then of course we've begun to move forward. The section limits, US 67 at Lake Ridge Parkway. We're in the phase 1 construction interchange. The project is expected to be let 2027 now. The difference is this is just, half mile, but it's $229 million. This whole study, complete project involvement, the summer 2018, you've been in the room all the time. And of course, it's just, we said we're getting our environmental clearance, but we're moving forward in anticipation. And of course, the consultant in October 2025. Now on your end, you don't have the same challenges I have on the other end. TxDOT, going through the Lancaster area, we're acquiring about 40 acres, and we're moving forward. They expect the construction letting to begin in 2027. If there's
Commissioner, how many phases is it?
there's four, is it four phases?
It's like three.
Three phases.
Phases.
Three, there's three, I think, Council.
The first phase is a piece from I-44, I-45 to 35, in which TxDOT is actually doing acquiring right of way on that section right now. But this section is what's,
This
this is the other section right here that
This
they're reviewing.
is the
right now.
one here that you just, this is the one here. Project, this is the I-35, I-45 she's just talking about. This will construct 2-lane frontage road, ultimately 6 lanes with frontage road. This project has already basically been let, and this is basically 11 and a half miles. This cost $297 million. And so, as you see, the environmental clearance has already been done here. And as I said, along the corridor this morning, we had Mesquite, which I represent about 3/4, everything from 635 to the county line. And I did challenge the mayor this morning. Of all my cities, that's the only city that has not completed their Route 9 portion. And so I did challenge him this morning. Not gonna withhold anything, but they just need to move forward so that we can be complete on the southern end. All entities have been briefed. Council signed all of the agreements with TxDOT, and as I said, we're in the process of acquiring right of way. This is what, and again, Duncanville has been at all the summit meetings. I inherited West Southwest cities in the last redistricting. Prior to that, I had what we call the CETA cities, Southeast Area Transportation Alliance. You know, that's the Bog Springs of the world, the Cedarvilles, Mesquite. We were part of the CETA project, and that's an initiative that came out of Public Works and my staff. But when I inherited West Southwest, one of the issues was we were transportation. We were transportation hostage. And as such, we had to figure out how we were going to get to this next level. We did that by replicating what's going on up in Legacy Park. They have a TMA. And so Councilman Tanel Atkins and I came together and created this TMA. TMA is an organization of business and local governments dedicated to solving local transportation concerns. It focuses on travel needs of larger employers. One of the challenges all of our employers say, and even Amazon, within a 1-mile radius, people can't get to work. Transportation is still an issue. And so one of the things they did is they came together and said, hey, if you guys form it, you know, we'll be a part of it. So they have done that. We have done it says currently reviewing the ILA drafted by DAR, but we're past that now. The chairperson is a director of Public Works, Alberta Blair. Frankie Lloyd is with Home Depot. Ken is with Procter & Gamble, and the secretary is Mayor McConnell. We haven't had a symposium since December 2018, but we're moving forward. City of Dallas has now deposited their money, deposited my money, we're moving forward. COG has agreed to fund this project for the first 2 years. And so, we're there. These are the joint meetings we continue to try to have with our cities so that Duncanville will know what Cedar Hill is doing, Cedar Hill will know what DeSoto's doing, that we all know what's going on. And again, we're back to what COG continues to try to impress. We've got to talk about the whole region of this area. Dallas, Fort Worth has seen 158,000 individuals move into this area each year for the last 2 years. And of course, you know what's going on with housing. We're really challenged with that. I don't know how many subdivisions y'all have going on right now in Duncanville. Some of the other cities, I kind of know how many subdivisions they have going on and kind of what that range is. Even in Dallas County, as we have some properties, we're talking about what can we do to talk about affordability. Duncanville, 11 square miles, you're not going to build affordable housing. DeSoto can't afford to. So what does that leave me? That leaves me with Wilmer and Hutchins. As you know, in 2009, Senator West carried a bill whereby I'm probably the only commissioner, I am the commissioner in the water business. If you look at Pleasant Run Road, if you drive down Pleasant Run Road now, you will see a storage unit. You'll also see a lift station. I always tell people, whoever controls the water controls the destiny. I don't care nothing about electricity. We can get some candles. You know, you control water, you control destiny. It took me 2 years just to get the city of Dallas, DWU, to permit Lancaster to sell 3 million gallons of water to Wilmer. Took 2 years to get that done. And we didn't even talk about the whole sewer thing yet, because they were still on lift stations. But it took 2 years. Lancaster buys 40 million gallons of water a day. They only use 9 million. But they don't have an option just to sell water. And so we finally, consummated that. The problem is that Wilmer nor Lancaster could afford the infrastructure. So I took $10 million of my major capital improvement money along Pleasant Run and created 2 TIF districts, one in Wilmer, one in Lancaster, and split the other $5 million between the two. And of course now I'm constructing. The reason, I'm haunted in on that area with regards to this whole inland port area, and your people, your director and Jackie, they've been at the presentation. The real asset is what we call general aviation, and what we're finding is that a number of the corporates, when they relocate, they want to relocate as close as they can to general aviation. So when you look at Pleasant Run, when you look at Sunrise Road, which I'm working on, is my north-south feeder to Loop 9. And so as a result, when you come out of Sunrise Road, going north, and you hit Pleasant Run, you're gonna run right into that storage unit and that lift station. But that is where I'm continuing to see the most robust industrial growth. These are just meetings, and like I said, your people have been there. This is where we are coming up on October 31st. We'll be here, and we're going to be talking about this. Mark Diebner, who is with the city of Dallas, who is over both Love Field and executive and their general aviation airport, will be a presenter along with Lancaster and of course Mesquite. The reason Mesquite now has Ashley's Furniture, most people don't realize it. Ashley's Furniture is the largest furniture distribution in the world. They're all franchise. Most of us didn't know that. But when they flew into Mesquite, they loved the access on the general aviation. So now their world headquarters is in Mesquite. And it's making all the difference in the world with regards to Clay Matthews, Lawson. And again, we're beginning to forge different relationships with Kaufman County because first of all, I've got flood problems, and that's a whole another story with regard to Lawson Road and what's going on out there. But you're the host for this, Best Southwest CETA. We look forward to you being there. But again, I can't say enough about your staff. They're always there, and they're always on it. So you have a great staff, and we just appreciate their participation. If you have any other questions regarding, sorry, not much for us. It hasn't been, the weekend's been rough. It's just been, you know, Alberta them don't understand. Yeah, never mind. But are there any questions regarding? Yes, Mayor.
Commissioner, coincidentally, we have on our agenda tonight the memorandum of agreement for the Villa Web.
Okay.
Could you just go back to that slide?
Yes, sir.
Please. So what's before us tonight is the memorandum that each of the 4 cities is committed to $15,000 of the $60,000 for the scope of the study itself,
Right.
and you're funding that. You're
Right.
covering that cost for us.
Yes.
The total, what it doesn't go into, and I'm glad that this came up, because the total project cost being $300,000. Is there any idea of how that cost is going to be split out between COG and the cities and the county?
I think at the end of the day, you know, we always look to Michael Morris to see how much more we can get, but we're committed because it is COG led. We think that they will.
They aren't going to be participating in the rest of the funding for this project. So they're the ones, they're the push and the drive, and they will be bringing in the additional funds to help fund the study.
Yeah, but no, he's beyond just the study, the rest of the 300.
Yeah,
Right.
and they're going to be participating in that. In
So,
that
is there
section.
any way for us to predict what our portion of that 300K could be?
Well, no, we're
Well, right now, the only thing you have is that 15,000.
60.
And we have the
That's the
60.
study
but
aspect.
Yeah, that's the study, but we only, in other words, you are part of that whole thing, so you're not bringing any additional funds to the table.
Okay.
We have that covered with this
We're
memorandum.
fully covered by the
Right,
county.
that's right.
On the 15,000.
On the 15,000, yes.
Yeah, the COG is picking up 240, which is the balance of the 300K.
Right, that's what I said. But she said 15, 300.
Yeah.
She said, once y'all put in your 15,000.
That's the trigger.
That's the trick.
So we are responsible for the 15.
15.
The
Each
15
city,
counties.
there are 4 cities. There are 4
4 cities.
We each pay 15.
And-
They're paying. The county
County's
is
gonna pick
paying.
up.
Yeah,
Right.
the 15's coming out of participation that you have, we have projects in which we have additional funds. We're taking those funds out of certain projects. So we're taking it out of one of your projects to fund this particular project.
So there's been like an accrual, there's been like an accrual account that's
You
been
have-
set
you have the
aside,
money.
we've been funding.
Right.
And that's where our 15,000 is being covered from, is that accrual
Yes.
fund set aside? So you
Yes,
have-
set aside for this particular
Got it,
project.
okay. So we don't have to, we're not looking at
You're not to
any.
be out of pocket.
Right,
but
that's
But it
the
is
question.
coming out of money
That we
that
have-
you have escrowed.
We've contributed to it, but we're not gonna have any out-of-pocket
No.
15,000.
No.
Right.
Okay.
And then once we hit that 60,000, then we're gonna be looking to COG
Okay. Yeah.
for the project
I'm
cost.
glad it came up, because we've got that voluminous document on our agenda tonight for approval.
And
Okay.
this is give us the ability to trigger the study and get it going with COG. So this is what we're doing right now.
Education for me is somebody who's still learning all this stuff. Staff member said tonight that once this agreement is in place, it also provides the opportunity for grants. Do those grants come from the RTC, or are they federal grants? And where is that possibility for
The
additional
way
funding?
we traditionally have done these particular projects is that we'll study the full alignment, get the alignment approved through each city, and then when it's time for a particular grant or a call for projects through COG or through the process, even through TxDOT, we would submit this project actually into a call for projects, and that's what the possibility comes about.
Okay.
But also, Mayor, it has a lot to do with, again, and we've had this discussion before, even with your people, how we design project. That'll be the trigger in terms of, fund, because we want to design it at the ultimate, and we may or may not get federal funds, but we'll design it beyond what TechStop
Okay.
requires.
Thank you for that education, I appreciate it. Any other questions for Commissioner Price?
A lot of,
Well, you're talking about public safety for, what city? It's doing public safety for?
Sunnyvale.
Sunnyvale.
They've been contracted with our sheriff's department. They weren't in my district, like I said, until 2010. And I'd always voted against them because I looked at their tax base. I looked at their tax base. And I'm saying, you can get your own public. And I showed a number of examples of similar sized cities that have their own public safety. If they're contracted through the sheriff's department, even though they're supposed to be taking care of all directs, the rest of the city the rest of the county was underwriting. And so I basically gave them a time frame. And so, they're paying. But the key in that was the CAD, the computer aided dispatch. And right now, they're supposed to be entering into some local agreement either with Mesquite or Garland, to get their own system. We're gonna have to carry it for a full year. And I said that this morning to the mayor. We'll carry it for a full year. But they have now hired a police chief. They now have a building. And so they're making their application for T-Club.
So I asked that to say, I'm not sure if it fits in or not, but on 20, we are contracting with the sheriff's department, is that right?
For access.
Yeah, but you're contracting, for
So I was just looking to see if you have any public dollars for us that we could,
We're just glad
we
that
could
you.
add to our police department, and we would, and perhaps consider that we could take care of that if you give us more public funding for public safety.
Well,
So while
you
we
know
give
what?
them 60 and he gives us $1 million.
Yeah, well.
I'm just asking, you never know until you ask.
That whole public, that highway, what we call it, freeway management, has really been a challenge, and that's what I told the city of Dallas. COG is helping us, but we're underwriting significantly freeway management. And I guess what bothers me as we continue to talk about doing away with fines, as some people did with red light cameras, Dallas County, through the state tax, we probably owed about $40 million in citation money. We're not going to ever collect it. We're not going to get it. And freeway management is costing us to the tune of probably $12 million. So the little piece you guys do, and of course, it's primarily because, it's minuscule. So you'll make it at home. Something else. I'm not worried about Duncanville.
Is there anything else at this point that you can see that for Duncanville as we're in a small portion of the county? What else could you contribute to help our cities? We look to be innovative and grow more.
You've submitted some projects that don't, quite meet the bar. I just think you're in the process of repurposing, a lot of your land. 11 square miles, and you're locked. But again, that's
where I want you to help us. It's
well,
you're locked.
that's the reason I put this in
Create more
there.
land.
Yeah, I want to know, you've got realtors on the council. Look what's going on with your taxable value. And I know for the most part, rooftops carrying your day. Right. There are a number of my cities, 83% in one city, where rooftops is carrying your day. And so that's the revenue stream. And I don't know how you get here. I don't know what you did. You went from 582 million in 2015 752.
Appraisals went
Yeah.
Lot.
Yeah,
up. We caught up with other areas.
yeah. And so, Councilman, that's the reason they have y'all on the council, and your ingenuity. Figure out
Say
how-
what?
But again, you are repurposing, and we see that. And,
You know, Commissioner, looking at that chart as well, as you just pointed out, going from 2015, 2019, total taxable value, it's a $500 million delta in those 5 years,
yeah,
which is significant,
it is.
very significant.
Thanks, sir.
And we are doing things like the rental property thing. We started to make them bring their properties up, and we're not playing.
Yeah.
And
So you have rental listings?
We're working on it.
Working on it.
Yes,
all
we're making
that.
them registered,
Well,
like
that's-
Dallas,
well,
like
that's what I
Dallas.
said. Yes, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gotta be a standard. But and even with county land, we're starting to talk about how we enter into agreements, not just for the dirt, but to forge construction, especially in Eau Claire, of housing, affordable housing. I just said, the only affordable housing that we're gonna be able to build is in Wilmer and Hutchins. That's where we were going. Matthew Southwest built 600 units. Before they could finish it, it was subscribed at 900. A third more than what they had constructed. And they're in the process of trying to catch up with it.
Just a lot of raw land.
Well, it's a lot of raw land, but no, the infrastructure, back to
Yeah.
the sewer and the water.
Yeah.
You gotta make sure what you put on there will pay for the infrastructure going forward too. So
Yeah.
the densities and things need to be, the planning needs to be looked at more carefully, and we can pay for the stuff in the future.
I'm clear. I'm very clear. But as you know, the number one thing is to entice developers to come there. Well, because it's, they don't have this kind of portfolio. In fact, they were my only 2 cities in the county in the last census that did not grow at all.
So we need to be creating more local developers from your districts that live in your district instead of other people, depending on the people from out of town to come. So we need to be, that needs to be a focus.
We nominate you. Mr. Mayor, Council, Mr. Manager, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate your time very, very much. Okay, we still have an adequate amount of time to continue with our agenda. And we will go ahead now and discuss the consent item agenda. There are items on the consent agenda, so Mr. Hubbard.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Tonight on the consent agenda, item 4A are the minutes for the August 23rd City Council special meeting, the September 3rd City Council regular meeting, the September 17th City Council regular meeting, the September 23rd Council joint meeting with DCEC, September 24th Council special meeting, and the September 27th to 28th City Council retreat planning meeting. Item 4B is a resolution approving a renewal of an agreement between the City of Duncanville and Dallas County Hospital District, or Parkland Health and Hospital System, to provide Viatel EMS system services. This is a 2-year contract. This would be the first renewal of a contract that was previously authorized in 2017, expired September 30th, 2019. What this does is it provides medical direction to the Duncanville Fire Department and EMS, which is required by the Texas Health and Safety Code. So the funding is $24,953 in the first year of this 2-year renewal and $25,155 in FY21. Item 4C is a resolution authorizing an award of bid for pavement replacement to Camp Creek Contracting. This is part of our pavement management system. This is pavement replacement for concrete streets. This work will be done on Duncanville Road, beginning at westbound I-20 Service Road and then proceeding northward to do as much work as can be done with the funds. And then remaining work will be done in FY21 and will be budgeted at that time. So we have $582,000 allocated in the FY20 street maintenance fund for this work. Camp Creek was the low bidder. Item 4D is a resolution adopting the City Council Rules of Procedures in accordance with the Duncanville Home Rule Charter. As you recall, in your special meeting, you went through the Rules of Procedure and made recommended changes. These changes do reflect that. I do want to make one comment, one note that in the Rules of Procedure, the first paragraph, paragraph A, which is in italics, you had indicated changing terminology of he to he and she. We did not change that because this wording is directly out of the charter, and so we didn't want to make that change since that's charter wording, but we did make a change in the rest of the wording of the rules.
So the rules of procedure can't preempt the charter. In order to change the charter, in order to change the rules of procedure, we'd have to change the charter. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. So it's just that first paragraph and the italicized paragraph, that is wording directly out of the charter. So once the charter, if we ever have a charter amendment or a charter election and amend the charter, then we can clean that up at that time. But at this point, we just left that language in.
So what, we were all he's then?
Yes, ma'am. I guess at the time that charter was done. I just wanted to point that out.
We tried. We tried.
It's reflected in the rest of the rules of procedure are.
The rest of the rules are good. It's just that first section.
Just that first, yeah, okay. So
Yeah.
everywhere else throughout.
Everywhere else we
except for
changed,
that one
yes,
piece.
it's just that piece, that very first paragraph. The next item, item 4E is the resolution approving the MOU on the VeloWeb, which I think we've discussed that. Item 4F is a resolution adopting the City Council Strategic Vision Final Report. This is the report that was provided by your facilitator, Dr. Mike Mowry, as a result of your facilitated your day at the retreat. So this adopts the 5 strategic pillars that you came up with. And then after you adopt this, staff will take those and work on revising the work plan, creating new work plan items that fall in line with your objectives, and then we will bring that work plan back to you for approval at a later date.
So while you're there, we had so much rich information in that retreat. I think we did a great job in having this discussion to the facilitator. Do we wait then to kind of tell our constituents what we got out of that retreat? Should we talk about it a little bit? Mary, just from your chair, just a small recap of what we covered in that retreat versus waiting. So if that's the case, do we pull it and just discuss it out and open it for everyone, just a little bit of what's there?
The document as it stands is pretty complete in terms of the coverage of what we did. In fact, I read it, and everything that's there is very, very substantial.
I agree.
Are you asking that
I think
in order to make it public outside of this particular, just as a document, you're asking that we brief the city itself during a council meeting?
yes.
How about if we
Print it and throw it to all their houses. Just kidding. Such good reading.
in order for that, to make it public, it still needs to be condensed just a little bit, I think, in terms of some of the salient points. You know, here's the primary things that we looked at. Our new documents, our new goals in terms of what we're going for. I think the most important things that we did, we've changed the language on a lot of things. I can certainly do that at a subsequent mayor's report. Tonight, I think we'd like to move and just carry this through if we could.
Yeah, that's fine. I just hope that, as you mentioned, that's fine. As long as we can come back and share, because we did go off and we'd like to kind of report back what we did when we went off.
Well, I'm thinking out, okay, just thinking out loud now, Mark. Possibly in another council meeting, whose jurisdiction does this fall in? Is it yours? In terms of if we were to have a report like at the end of a city council meeting, like a financial report, and report this out.
I said it's yours, Mayor. It's a city council retreat.
Well, okay, so, but the items that we covered,
It was a city council.
I would
retreat.
read that.
Yeah.
But I think, but
so-
it sounds to me like what you're suggesting, Councilmember Cooks, is just tonight on this agenda item, just expanding on it a little bit. Is that correct? Which we've done before occasionally on consent items, just expand a little bit on it during
Okay.
that item.
Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah, you don't have to go through the whole document, just enough
Oh,
to say.
okay.
Just
So
enough to
when
say-
Kristen gets to this particular point in reading the consent agenda, I'll interject.
Yes,
Can do.
that's good.
Can do.
That's good.
Okay.
Unless you would like to do a formal PowerPoint presentation.
Well, actually, it's actually where I was going. It would follow the same format as a briefing of the financial report or a quarterly
Well, you can come
report
back
from
with
the
that, you can come back
director.
with that as well, but since it was so fresh, you can come back with that as well,
Oh, I'm fresh all the time.
but. With your PowerPoint stuff you wanna do.
Yeah. We'll do that tonight. Okay, so we'll go through that. And if you have anything that you'd like to add in terms of augmentation, you're welcome to do so. Okay. All right. Somebody help me remember that I'm doing that.
We will, they will.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Item G.
Item 4G is a resolution confirming city manager's reappointment of Leah Polk as a member of the Duncanville Civil Service Commission. As you know, our public safety, police and fire are formed under Chapter 143 of the Texas Local Government Code, which is civil service. It does require the establishment of a civil service commission of 3 members. By Chapter 143, the members of the commission are appointed by the city manager with ratification by the city council. It is my intention to reappoint Ms. Leah Polk to the Civil Service Commission. She has served 1 3-year term. She's an attorney. She's done a great job. I've conferred with both chiefs. They concur as well. And so she is my desire to reappoint to the Civil Service Commission. Those are all of the items on the consent agenda.
Okay. Okay, very good. Do we have time to cover what we need for the executive session item? If not,
Probably not from.
not then, okay. All right. Well then.
I'm sorry, I did have, thank you, Richard. I did have one thing I did want to do, and I was remiss in not doing it right away. I would like to recognize our new purchasing manager, Sheila Baker. And so Sheila, I'm going to put you on the spot and have you stand up and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself to the council.
Good evening, my name is Sheila Baker. I'm been in the DFW area for the last 6 years. I have a master's in public administration. I have a certification public manager, and I'm working on my doctor's as well. I'm just happy to be here in Duncanville. I've been in Fort Worth for the last 6 years, and Campbell, Austin, and Houston area. I've been in financial management and procurement over the last 30+ years.
Welcome.
Has that all been municipal procurement, or do you have any federal?
Federal, state, and government, probably 15 of the 30.
Wonderful. Very glad to have you.
I'm sorry.
So then I told you that this was headed. I didn't know you were new.
We're glad to have Sheila on board. She's been here about 2 weeks now, then? 2 weeks.
Welcome aboard. Nice to have you, Sheila. Okay. All right, so with that, we will recess and convene into city council, please, at 7 p.m. sharp. Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The time is, according to Apple, 7:02. Calling to order our city council meeting for October the 15th, 2019. Thank you for all being here tonight, and we look forward to having a productive evening. The first thing on our agenda after calling to order is the invocation, and our invocation is going to be given to us tonight by Reverend Jane Grainer from the Trinity United Methodist Church. All please rise. Thank you.
Let us pray. God of all the nations, you have called us all to live lives of righteousness and justice, of peace and wholeness. We confess that at times we have cared more for places of honor than for places of service. We have worked more for power than for purpose. Bless now those who gather in this chamber. Give the gifts of discernment, of wisdom, of vision. To those who lead here, grant the patience of cooperation. To those who debate here, grant clarity of thought. To those who decide here, grant the courage for truth. Set ever before us the broken places of our life together. Set our ears to hear the cry of the poor. Set our eyes to see the needs of the sick. Set our hearts to beat in rhythm with yours. And join together all people of goodwill, both in this place and beyond, in order that this city might be a signal of hope and fulfillment. And we ask this in the name of all that we hold holy. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledges to our flags. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you. Please be seated. To open the mayor's report tonight, just a couple of items. First of all, Councilmember Jameson had to leave. It's actually time for her. Her husband has been invited to speak at a conference in San Francisco. And so Councilmember Jameson decided to go on a great trip with her husband. So we bless her for a safe trip, and we know that her husband's going to be doing a great job out there. Also, we want to welcome Joe Vera Cruz, council member from District 1. He hasn't been absent, but as you may or may not have heard, his wife Janet had a stroke. But she is recovering well. She is now home and going through rehab. So Joe, you and Janet remain in our prayers for her to have a healthy recovery. And by the way, Janet is also a school board trustee. So she has a fulfillment as an elected official as well. So please keep her in your prayers. We have well, let's put it this way. I have a pretty full agenda tonight for the mayor's report. And, you know, we have this kind of a thing, or it's my thing, that we limit ourselves to 3 minutes. Well, I'm going to violate that pretty significantly tonight. So I've asked Kristen to turn off the timer on me. It's going to apply to everybody else. One of the things that I'd like to do is to inform you that several of us went to San Antonio last week for the Texas Municipal League Conference, and want to thank you, our citizens, on behalf of our council for funding us with your funds to be able to do that. It was extremely beneficial and educational for us. The 86th legislature, session of the Texas legislature, passed a number of pieces of legislation that affect how we operate as a city. And we were briefed on those effects and the impacts and what those things are going to do for us in the future and what they're not going to do for us in the future. So we have a list of action items for ourselves as a council with our staff in order to respond to some of that legislation. So again, it was very, very educational and very worthwhile in terms of the time spent for us to go to San Antonio. Also want to give kudos to our Parks and Rec department for having these meetings in the park. I was able to attend a couple of them, and they're very informational and educational. We had some pretty good turnouts and a lot of good feedback coming from our citizens in terms of what you would like to see done with our parks. So thank you to our Parks and Rec folks for having that, to have open meetings in the park, and it gave us all an opportunity to see things from a different perspective from how our citizens and their children use our parks. And it was very worthwhile for me personally to be able to interact with several of those folks. Chief Livigny would like to have the floor for just a moment. I'm going to have that done through our mayor's report. Chief?
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor and council, citizens. I'd like to share with you tonight, back in early September, we had an individual, an elderly individual, that was diagnosed with Alzheimer's that went missing from his family. And we had quite a turnout to try to locate this individual. We had individuals from the Duncanville Police Department, from the Duncanville Fire Department, from various other neighboring departments with equipment such as drones. We had police volunteers. We had Best Southwest CERT volunteers. We had volunteers from Midlothian to help try to locate this individual. And if any of you guys are here today, if you want to come forward, it's nowhere close to the number of people. We had almost 50 people on this search effort. One of the things I need to. One of the things that we did that night was we did a silver alert. We also did a mainstream media alert, and we did a social media alert over our various platforms that were active. Now behind me, I think because of our time limitations tonight, it kind of shows some of the people that were involved in that search effort. Unfortunately, that night, we were not successful in finding this individual. But there is good news. The next morning, we had a lady taking her 10th grade student at the Duncanville High School to school, just outside of Duncanville, but in Dallas. And she located our missing individual. And he was still in relatively good shape for the time he had been missing. So we were able to safely return him home. So I want to stress the importance to each and every one of you that when these alerts go out via mainstream or social media, please take note. This individual could have been your dad, could have been your mom, could have been your husband or your wife. And unfortunately, at some point, and I know the medical community is working on it, could be you. So please take this seriously. Your eyes and ears help us help these people, okay? And in saying that, we've got a program that we want to announce tonight. It's called Duncanville Take Me Home. And what we'd like to do is try to be proactive in these types of situations. So, what we're looking for is if we have Duncanville residents who have a diagnosis of Alzheimer's, dementia, memory loss, or other medical situations that could get them disoriented, then be proactive, come register with us at the Duncanville Police Department. What we will do, we'll ask you for some basic information, we'll ask you for a recent photo, and we'll ask you for a medical diagnosis if there is one. Because when we're trying to get a silver alert issued, we cannot get a silver alert issued from the state unless we're able to show them a written medical diagnosis from a doctor. So a lot of times people don't realize that they need that, and if it's after hours, we're kind of at a loss. We're trying to play catch up. So if we can get in front of this and we can save time when these unfortunate incidents happen, then we'll be ahead of the curve. So again, Kristen's helped me and pass out this to the council. It's on our website. Our hope is to eventually have this program not only on the website that you can print out and write in and return to us, but that you can also fill in on the website, upload the diagnosis, upload the pictures. We're not there yet, but you can print it out and bring it to us, and we'll hold on to it in case we need it. We thought it was important enough to go ahead and get this done. So if you are a Duncanville resident and you think that would be a program that would help you and your family, please contact Doug Sisk with the Duncanville Police Department. and we can make that happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Last item on my mayor's report, I'd like to bring up some pictures if we could. April, you may be aware, I hope you're aware, that we had a mural painting on the wall at Cockrell Hill in Daniel-Dale. And this was quite a project. It was done by the Duncanville Design Group. They laid out the initial sketches for us, and it was kind of a paint by number. And we did it over this past weekend. And you can see here some of the people. We had, well over 60 participants, if not more. Close to 100 participants. That included Mr. Cooks, Mr. McBurnett, Mr. Veracruz, and myself. They actually entrusted us with paintbrushes. I don't know why, but I think we did a pretty fair job. They didn't kick us off the wall anyway. So, but this was a great effort, and my thanks, the council's thanks to Jessica James, Director of Economic Development, for putting this together with the Duncanville Design Group. And if you, please, I'm not going to say if you have a chance, I would ask you, make it a point to go drive to the corner of Daniel-Dale and Cockrell Hill and take a look at this mural. It is absolutely fantastic. Us folks that they entrusted to do the little bitty stuff, it looks okay. Curtis, who is the art teacher at Byrd. He's been the art teacher there for 30 years, and he is going back and he's doing the touch-ups on stuff that it's artwork. It is actual artwork. So I really encourage you to take a look at this. It's something that we as a city can be proud of. And I am very, very proud of that. Okay, moving on to any council members' reports. Mr. Cooks.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council, and to our citizens of Duncanville. I'll just piggyback on what the Mayor just talked about on the mural and the painting, which was a great thought. Jessica James, thank you for you and your team, Cynthia, for heading that up. And I'll tell you, the most rewarding, one of the rewarding things that I could see doing that is we had families bringing their children out to participate in that mural painting. I had a 16-year-old and about a 8-year-old, and I asked the parent, how did you get her from the phone and from the computer to come out and paint? Well, she didn't have a choice. Mother saw a project, and then there was other people driving down the street, and they would just come park and join in. And here's how I think that I want to share. Then I saw another family who's bringing all their family in to join in. But I would share with you one of the important people. Now, everybody was important, but one that really stood out to me was this gentleman that says, I want to help, but I don't speak English. So we found someone there that could interpret or speak Spanish from English for him, and he participated at Miro as well. So that was just when I tell you that was a great community event, it was a great community event from all over the city. So citizens, those that's here, those that's watching, thank you very much for participating in that. The other part, I also attended TML and had a wonderful time there learning about innovation and communication. Passed some information all off to our communication person, April, as well, and we'll continue to share any information that I've learned from TML conference. Thank you very much for allowing me to attend that. And then I'll go with our Lunch and Learn. Our Lunch and Learn this month is going to be a little different. We have public safety and personal protection for women, children, and seniors. Our special guest is our Police Chief Robert Brown, Officer Doug Sis, and then a special guest on public safety and personal protection instructor. At Luby's the fourth Thursday of this month, October the 24th, from 11:30 to 1. I'll invite you all to come out to hear public safety and personal protection for women, children, and seniors by our special guests of Chief Brown and Doug Sis and Mark Tolliver with our public safety and personal protection instructor.
And then last but not least, my shop Duncanville story this time is I had an opportunity to get new glasses for my frames, and instead of going to Cedar Hill, which I normally did, a great eye care specialist in Cedar Hill, I used a percussion eye care here in Duncanville. Great job, great prices, but he was here in Duncanville, so I switched my eye care from using in Cedar Hill to Duncanville. And I'll encourage you, if you're not shopping Duncanville, shop Duncanville. And I'd ask you to shop something new unless you find something new. But if you're shopping somewhere that has Dallas and we have a Duncanville location, shop Duncanville. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Mr. Harvey.
Been a while, I forgot how to use it. Thank you very much, Mayor. I just want to make a quick note of thanks to City Manager Kevin Hugman and Police Chief Robert Brown and Chief Mark Levigny for the announcement that they just made a few seconds ago concerning this additional aid to those who have disabilities. Some of you know that my son has Asperger's syndrome, which is under the autism umbrella. And so for them to do that means a whole lot to me personally. So I just want to say thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further council members' reports, city manager's report. Mr. Ogden.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I do have a couple of things I would like to mention this evening. First of all, I would like to welcome our new purchasing manager who started about 2 weeks ago. I'm going to ask Ms. Sheila Baker to stand. Sheila comes to us from the city of Fort Worth. Prior to that, she has experience in Austin and Houston area as well. She has a master's degree and is currently working on her PhD, so she brings a wealth of experience to us, and we were very fortunate and very glad to have her as part of our team. Thank you, Sheila. This week we also have a couple of events going on that I'd like to inform you. Thursday evening we have a town hall input meeting for the Kidsville and Splash Pad project. As you know, that's part of our bond project. We're continuing to work very diligently on that, and we'll have the architects here as well as representatives from the Leathers Group. And the Leathers Group is the one who previously built or provided the Kidsville playground. We are going to go back with another Leathers type project, so we will have representatives from them here as well Thursday evening. So this is the public's opportunity to come and provide design input to the design team. So please come, 6:30 p.m. Thursday evening at the Senior Center. On Friday, you have the opportunity to come and have pastries with the city planner. This month is National Planning Month, and Chastity and Athena are going to welcome you with pastries. So please come and visit with them from 9 to 11 on Friday here at City Hall in the planning section. And they will be very happy to discuss with you all aspects of Duncanville from a planning perspective. And then lastly, as far as events, this Friday also at 10 a.m. we will be unveiling the last of our current projects of the traffic signal box art. As you know, that we may know that we've done some of the traffic signal boxes in different art projects. And the last one is going to be unveiled this Friday at 10 a.m. It will be by Hastings Elementary School on Center Street. And so that particular art project was designed by some of the students at Hastings. And so we picked that traffic control box over there to put that art project on. So please come by and take part in that unveiling. And then last, I would like to mention that this morning, Mayor Gordon and I, Chief Brown, Chief Levigny, a number of staff from the fire department, as well as the assistant city manager and the city secretary and I, had the honor to participate in a ceremony this morning marking the 20th anniversary of the Southwest Regional Communications Center. For most of you, that's probably you refer to as the Regional Dispatch Center. But 20 years ago this month, the cities of DeSoto, Duncanville, and Cedar Hill undertook a very innovative project at that time, and that was to take each of their city dispatch centers and consolidate them into one regional dispatch center. And the purpose of that is to provide efficient service to our citizens, but at a lower cost. And I think 20 years later, Southwest Regional stands as a testament to an ongoing partnership and relationship that we have in the best Southwest, with the idea of how do we best serve our citizens, but at a cost-effective method for our citizens and taxpayers. And it is just one of the many regional partnerships that we have with them. And I think it's also a great opportunity, a good time to recognize the men and women who staff the Regional Dispatch Center. And they provide an invaluable service to all of us on a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week basis. And they are that critical link between our first responders and the people who need their services. So please help me and thank all of our regional dispatch members. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Hugman. And just a little bit of housekeeping. You notice on the agenda we do have an executive session tonight. We're going to defer that until the end of the meeting in deference to your constituents. If you'd like to stay, you're more than welcome to. Moving on to item number 2 on the agenda, proclamations and presentations. The first proclamation is recognizing October 2019 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Councilmember Patrick Harvey will do that one, please.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. I'd like to take the next few moments to read this proclamation. And it reads as follows: whereas domestic violence is a pattern of assaultive and coercive behaviors such as physical, psychological, sexual, and economic abuse, including social isolation and stalking, that individuals use to maintain power and control over their intimate partners, and whereas the crime of domestic violence violates an individual's dignity, safety, and basic human rights, and whereas domestic violence crosses all ethnic, racial, economic, age, educational, and religious lines, and whereas domestic violence is the single largest cause of injury and homicide for women. And whereas children who are exposed to domestic violence experience feelings of terror, isolation, guilt, helplessness, and grief, and have a higher risk of substance abuse, engaging in criminal behavior, and becoming victims of crime. And whereas it is incumbent on every resident to aid and assist those suffering from domestic abuse, and let victims know that support is available. And whereas during the month of October, the Duncanville Police Department will be intensifying efforts to promote public understanding of family violence, increasing sensitivity to victims while emphasizing the need for citizen involvement in the efforts to reduce family violence. Now therefore, Barry L. Gordon, Mayor of the City of Duncanville, Texas, do hereby proclaim October 2019 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and asks all citizens in the City of Duncanville to join with him and the Duncanville City Council and the Duncanville Police Department in promoting domestic violence awareness, and thanking the Duncanville Police Department for its efforts in serving and supporting those affected by domestic violence. Chief?
Council, on behalf of the men and women of the Duncanville Police Department, I'd like to thank you for this proclamation. Ladies and gentlemen, domestic violence knows no boundaries. If you know someone who is in an abusive relationship, please encourage that person to seek help. Back many years ago, when I was much younger working for the Waco Police Department, I responded to a domestic violence call where I was nearly shot. Domestic violence calls are dangerous not only for the victims in that residence, but also dangerous for responding officers. So I encourage you, if you know someone who's involved in an abusive relationship, please encourage that person to get assistance. Thank you very
Chief, I'm thinking you might take a moment. We have on staff a domestic violence victim advocate, don't we? Why don't you inform folks just briefly about that? Because I think it's really important that they know we have someone on staff that they can work with.
Absolutely. Jessica could not be here this evening, ladies and gentlemen. She had an emergency in her family. I wanted her to accept the proclamation on behalf of the police department, but unfortunately she was not able to be here. I'm very thankful to our council for adding this position in our budget this year. This is a position that had been funded for almost a decade with grant fundings. But she does a tremendous job. We encourage not only individuals who are victims of domestic violence, but other crimes that occur within our city. And Jessica is responsible for helping that person get aid from the state. So we're very blessed to have her, and I'm very grateful to the council for funding this position.
Thank you, Chief. The next item on our agenda is a proclamation for our sister city visit coming up. And Dr. Fred Ciroci, please come with me to accept this proclamation. Before reading it, I want to preface it with some remarks. First of all, the contingent from Monastirolo de Civigliano, how'd I do? Very good. Okay. Arrive tomorrow. And they are going to be here for 10 days and are going to be escorted throughout the entire Metroplex by the hosts, the families that are going to be hosting them in their homes, by members of the commission, by members of the ad hoc committee. It's going to be a wonderful time of cultural exchange, and we're looking forward to it. They're going to be busy, busy, busy from one day starts at 6:45 in the morning and doesn't end until well past 10 or 11 o'clock at night. So my deepest thanks to the commission for what they have done in order for putting this together. The commission is composed of Sandra and Dr. Fred Ciroci, former Mayor David Green, Kay Cam, and Sheila Balagna, and unfortunately Rosalba Levat had to resign for a family emergency, but that's the commission. Also, I serve on that as well as city manager. What Sandy Ciroci did also, she formed an ad hoc committee. And what I looked to this ad hoc committee for, they were the boots on the ground. They were the ones that really went out and pounded the pavement, seeking funds from businesses and people within the city so that you, our city, so that our citizens know that 99% of the funding for this particular event is coming from citizens. It's not coming from taxpayer money. This is a commission of cultural exchange, and the city is very happy to have this commission and what it does. But this ad hoc committee really ran out, and I want to recognize them. Stella Moten, Mayor David Green, Sandra Ciroci, Steve Martin, and Gail Sliger. These individuals did a yeoman's job in terms of putting together the events, and untold thousands of dollars of monies that would have been contributed by firms around the Metroplex. Many dollars have been avoided in terms of the contributions that have been made. You know, I was talking to one individual. Well, I'll just mention her, Gail Sliger. She told me that she still has an active Rolodex, and that active Rolodex. Anybody here not know what a Rolodex is? Just checking. Just checking. You know. Do you know what a Rolodex is, Sheila? Okay, good. Okay, just checking. But she shook her Rolodex, and as a result of that, there are visits to AT&T Stadium, the Perot Museum, and several other very notable venues throughout our Metroplex that are being comped as a result of her efforts in putting things in the ground. And Fred and Sandy and the others and Mayor Green. I have a list of the donors, both individuals and resources within our city and outside our city. 34 businesses contributed large numbers of cash to fund this. The bus itself, Sandy was saying, what the bus is like $9,000 just to, or has that gone up, or is it still sitting around that? Still sitting around $9,000 to charter the bus for these 10 days to move people around, and that is not a tax burden. Those funds and the meals and everything else is really just a wonderful thing that's been done. Special thanks. I'm just going to take time here because I think it's very important that people are recognized for the time that they've invested in this. For Masco Cabinetry. Masco Cabinetry, y'all know where Masco is? They are located on Big Stone Gap. They are a very strong member of our community, a very large employer of our community. They have almost 500 employees, and they contributed $6,000 to this trip. And that's just enormous. And to know that we have businesses that think that much of our community to help and support us. Past member Glenn Repp, Dalton Linda Lott, of course Sandy and Fred, Steve Martin, president of the Chamber of Commerce, Sheila and Larry Bologna, Patrick and Jacqueline Harvey, the city of Duncanville, Texas Senator Jane Nelson, Arlington Mayor Jeff Williams. I've also already mentioned Gail Sliger, Stella Moten, again David Green, Frost Bank, City of Utacos, and Linebarger, Goggin, Blair and Simpson LLP. Those are the special ones, but there's 34 others that have really made this just a wonderful event. We're looking forward to it. I personally am not going to be able to participate in everything for all 10 days because there's still city business to do, but I'm looking forward to having them here. So with that, I do have a proclamation. Oh, the dinner tomorrow night, right? Yeah, we have a reception, dinner by invitation tomorrow night for them. And Fred, I'm just letting you know that I have had a welcome speech translated in Italian, and I've been practicing for 3 days. So no comments when I make mistakes about it, but I'm doing my best. I'm getting my Italian accent very good. Yeah, I'm polishing it up. Okay. So with that, let me read this and present this proclamation. And I apologize for taking time, but this is a special event. It's very special. The current mayor of Monasterola de Sivigliano is on this trip, as well as the former mayor. And when they see our city, they will see you. And how do we present ourselves as the city of Duncanville to distinguished visitors from Italy? Oh, I got to tell you a funny story. Well, I've told so many people about this, and they say, well, it's only like 25 miles away. You're getting visitors from Italy? I'm going, no, we're not getting visitors from Italy. We're getting visitors from Italy, like in Europe. And they go, oh, okay, got it. So, so that's just the way we are, isn't it? Okay, so, Fred, there's the proclamation, and let me go ahead and read it. And again, I apologize for taking so much time, but this is a very special event that's taking place in our city, and I want people to be able to recognize that. Whereas, in March of 1997, the city of Duncanville began discussions with the city of Monastirolo di Civigliano in the province of Cuneo, Italy, to establish a sister city relationship. And whereas in March 1997, the city of Duncanville welcomed Monastirolo's mayor, Antonio Brociero, and other distinguished Italian visitors to our city, and in July 1998, Duncanville Mayor Glenn Repp and other citizens of Duncanville reciprocated the visit to the city of Monastirolo. And whereas in June 1998, the cities of Duncanville and Monastirolo di Civigliano formally agreed to a mutual sister city relationship and committed to maintaining a friendship between the cities. And whereas in the 21 years this relationship has been in existence, delegations of citizens from both cities have exchanged visits and enjoyed old friendships and made new friendships. And whereas on this day, we celebrate our 21st anniversary of the relationship between the city of Duncanville and Monastirolo di Civigliano, and once again affirm our friendship. Now therefore, I, Barry Gordon, Mayor of the city of Duncanville, Texas, do hereby proclaim October 16th, 2019 as Sister City Day in the city of Duncanville, Texas, and urge all citizens to help promote world peace and understanding by extending a great big Texas welcome to our Italian friends. Thank you very much, Fred and Sandy, for all that you've done.
Thank you, Mayor Gordon. Thank you very much. Members of the commission and all the friends of the sister city who are here tonight, stand up. We want, these are people who are hosting guests for 10 days, and everybody has done so much to make this program work well. I want to thank you all, and we want to thank our city council for its support. Sometimes it's very difficult to do something when there's the threat of spending money. But I think the council really helped us a great deal, and the support, everything has just worked out so well. We're looking forward to the visit. And see anybody there, just say, ciao, how you doing? Thank you.
Thank you, Fred. And Sandy is in class tonight, she told me. So unfortunately, she couldn't be here tonight. We extend our best to her as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, everybody that just stood up, come on down here. We're going to get a picture, right? Okay, April, just tell us where to go, what to do.
Excuse me while I lower this podium. That way we can all kind of get in the center and the back, if that's okay. You guys can scooch in, scooch in. Okay, is everybody ready? Okay, big smiles. Great, thank you so much.
Next on the agenda is a proclamation recognizing October 2019 as National Community Planning Month. Councilmember Don McBurnett presenting.
Whereas change is constant and affects all cities, towns, suburbs, counties, boroughs, townships, rural areas, and other places. And whereas community planning and plans can help manage this change in a way that provides better choices for how people work, live, play. And whereas the American Planning Association, its professional institute, the American Institute of Certified Planners, endorsed National Community Planning Month as an opportunity to highlight the contributions, sound planning, and plan implementation, make the quality of our settlements and environment. And whereas the celebration of National Community Planning Month gives us the opportunity to publicly recognize participation and dedication of the members of planning commissions and other citizen planners who have contributed their time and expertise to the improvement of the city of Duncanville. And whereas we recognize the many valuable contributions made by the professional community and regional planners of the state of Texas and the planning division of the city of Duncanville, and extend our heartfelt thanks to the continued commitment to the public service by these professionals. Now, therefore, on behalf of our Mayor, Barry L. Gordon, Mayor of the city of Duncanville, Texas, we do hereby proclaim the month of October 19th as City Community Planning Month in conjunction with the celebration of National Community Planning Month.
All right, thank you, Councilman. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for this recognition. I'd like to introduce, well, this is our planning staff. I'm Chastity Allen Benson, City Planner. This is Athena Seaton, our planning technician. And tonight we also have our planning and zoning commissioners, Commissioner Richard Shaw, Commissioner Tom Shine, Commissioner Jana McBroom, and Commissioner George Turner. And they devote their time and efforts in our planning initiatives here in the city of Duncanville. So we just want to thank them for their support for all of our many planning ideas. I wanted to announce that we have won the State of Texas Planning Achievement Award from the Texas chapter of the American Planning Association for Public Outreach. Thank you. We are very excited for our public outreach efforts that we did last year during National Planning Month called Get in the Zone. We will be recognized at the state conference in November in Waco, so we're very excited to accept that award on behalf of the city of Duncanville. As Kevin mentioned, this Friday we will be having coffee and pastries with the city planner at the planning division. Pace yourselves on the pastries. Now that we've announced it, I'll have to make sure we have plenty of pastries. And it will be from 9 until 11 in the planning division. We also will be having a Planning 101 with seniors activity at the Senior Center on October 22nd at 11 o'clock. On the 25th, we'll be having an event called Dine on the Line. We'll be having a lunch meeting with the planners from Cedar Hill and just discussing planning initiatives in both of our cities. So I just want to acknowledge all of the work and effort that goes into planning, and thank you all for your support.
No, here we go, photo bomb. Thank you. The next item on the agenda, item number 3, is citizens' input. And any citizen wishing to utilize the public comment period should file a request with the city secretary, including your name, address, telephone number, subject, and signature prior to the start of the meeting. I have one item in front of me for that. Pursuant to section 551.007 of the Texas Government Code, any member of the public has the opportunity to address the city council concerning any matter of public business or any posted agenda item. However, the act prohibits the city council from deliberating any issues not on public agenda, and such non-agenda items may be referred to city staff for research and any future action. All persons addressing are subject to council adopted rules and limitations as permitted by law. And the limitation that we have for our city, the city of Duncanville, is that the comments are limited to 2 minutes. And so the single card that I have is from Mr. Grady Smithy. Please give us your name and address, Mr. Smithy.
Grady Smithy, 1806 Cedar Hill Road, Duncanville resident since 1950. In the recent bond election, the bond commission put together by you guys, appointed by you guys, basically asked for one of the issues that we passed was to reconstruct Daniel Dale Road between Main Street and 67, the most the absolute worst congestion on Daniel Dale Road occurs at that segment, because in the morning and afternoon a lot of people go that way. I used to go that way because in the 22 years that I worked for downtown in the Department of Agriculture, since I built the house I live in now, that was my way to work. Traffic's gotten worse. I'm glad I don't have to do it anymore. But what I would like to see happen is I would like to see y'all carefully consider what you're talking about putting bike lanes over there. I think there are better places to put bike lanes. There's certainly safer places to put bike lanes than that area. I sent a deal out to let people know that y'all are considering this thing, and so far I've got 90 responses to it. And of those 90 responses, and I checked this right before I came up here, 82 of them were negative to it. They said, why in the world would anybody want to put bike lanes there? I've talked for some bike riders, some of them are in this crowd, and they say to me, that would be the last place I'd want to ride on bicycles. We've already got some bike lanes on the north side of town, and we probably ought to take those and go a little further with them. But anyway, I really think that you ought to take a real hard look at this, and I really hope that you'll reconsider it and you'll do something that's in the interest of public safety as well as in the interest of bike lanes. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Smithy. Seeing no further citizen input, moving on to item number 4 of our agenda, which is the consent agenda. City Secretary, please read the items.
Item 4A, consider the minutes for the August 23rd City Council special meeting, September 3rd City Council regular meeting, September 17th City Council regular meeting, September 23rd joint meeting with DCEDC, September 24th special meeting, and September 27th and 28th City Council retreat planning meetings. Item 4B, consider a resolution approving the renewal of an interlocal agreement between the City of Duncanville and Dallas County Hospital District DBA Parkland Health and Hospital System to provide BioTel EMS system services in the amount of $50,109.24 for a 2-year term. Item 4C, consider a resolution authorizing award of IFB number 19-057 fiscal year 20 pavement replacement to Cam Creek Contracting, Inc. through the city's competitive bid process with an estimated expenditure amount of $582,400 based on the unit bid pricing and estimated quantities. Item 4D, consider a resolution approving the City Council rules of procedures in accordance with the Duncanville Home Rule Charter and the Code of Ordinances, providing for the repeal and replace of any and all prior rules of procedure. Item 4E, consider a resolution approving a memorandum of understanding between the City of Duncanville, City of DeSoto, City of Cedar Hill, City of Lancaster, Dallas County, the North Central Texas Council of Governments, and the Regional Transportation Council concerning the Southern Dallas County Regional Value-Web Shared Use Path Alignment Study. Item 4F, consider a resolution adopting the 2019 City Council Strategic Vision Retreat Final Report as attached hereto as Exhibit A and establishing the strategic pillars or priorities of the City Council.
Thank you. I'm going to interrupt for just a moment here. We had a strategic retreat September 30th for the City Council. And we did hire a professional facilitator for that retreat to help us look into the future for the next 5 or 10, 15 years, what we see as the strategic vision for our great city. And that was Mr. Mike Mowry. He did a fabulous job for us in terms of guiding us through discussions and helping us understand things. What I want to do is just briefly go over some of the salient points of what came out of that one-day session that we had with Mr. Mowry. First, he's given us a report. It is available. It's a public document. Just want to go over some points with you at this point. We as the council did something to create what's called reputational drivers. And some of those reputational drivers is let's have some great festivals, let's be a leader in technology, let's be known for the natural beauty that we have with great highway access. Let's be a progressive small town 12 miles from a cultural megaplex. Let's be a city of health and wealth and a model of public safety. And some of the drivers for those reputational things that we put down in terms of being progressive, we're looking for mixed-use neighborhoods, have a small town feel, but still let people know that we're only 12 miles from what we would consider a cultural megaplex, not only for Dallas, but also for Fort Worth. And with that technology, we're going to put Wi-Fi throughout the city at some point in the future. In fact, when we had these meetings with the parks and the Parks Board was present, we did notify our residents that came that we are going to start putting Wi-Fi in our parks so that you can come to our parks and you can relax, you can log on, you can do homework or read your Kindle or whatever you'd like to do, but that's something that's coming. We're looking in terms of energy efficiency, looking at solar and looking at smart meters throughout our city. And one of the interesting things that did come up, I thought was very good for our cities, we have a unique topography. And with that unique topography, we have some advantages that we can use in order to give our city greater exposure and greater visibility in terms of visitors coming to our city and even what our citizens can do. We're looking for access to our highways. We have a variety of cultures in our city based on our ethnicities and our demographics, and looking to be a model of public safety. We also did a SWOT analysis, SWOT being strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And working through that, we know that what we can do is we created what we're calling the strategic pillars or priorities. And these are the 5 pillars that we did create, and they are now becoming official for us as of tonight. 1, emphasize high quality of life. 2, reimagine Main Street and Center City area. 3, promote innovative ideas for development and redevelopment. 4, develop multimodal transportation strategy. And 5, advance marketing strategy of the city. So that's a brief overview of what we came up with for that entire time that we spent with Mr. Mowry. The details are available. If you'd like to see the entire document, you can pull it off of the web. I wanted to give you that overview and say thank you to our citizens for giving us that time to spend with Mr. Mowry and letting us strategize and have a vision casting for our future. City Secretary, you may continue. Thank you.
Item 4G, consider a resolution confirming the city manager's reappointment of Leah Polk as a member of the Duncanville Civil Service Commission for a 3-year term to expire October 31st, 2022.
Thank you. The chair will entertain a motion to approve.
Move to approve, Mayor.
Second.
We have a motion to approve, and we have a second. Please vote on this motion. Motion is approved. Thank you. Moving on to item 5A, items for individual consideration. Conduct a public hearing and consider an ordinance to change the zoning from existing local retail LR2 zoning to a planned development PD district, and approval of a development plan for an automated car wash with self-service vacuums on portions of lots 2 and 3, Winona Gardens Addition 2, approximately 1.19 acres. The subject property is located north of 1415 West Wheatland in Duncanville. Ms. Benson.
Okay, good evening, Mayor and Council. The request before you tonight is a request of a change of zoning to a planned development and a development plan for automated car wash. The applicant is Varon Nana, actually doing business as Q Car Wash. They have several locations throughout the Metroplex. The previous owner, or current owner at the time of the application, was the First Free Will Baptist Church. There's a map here that shows there's a little bit of confusion possibly related to the property. So the church currently owned that property, and they are selling portions of the church property off for commercial development, and they're selling that to this particular applicant for this property to be developed and just north of where the church property is. So the church is remaining there on the hard corner. The car wash is proposed to go just north of that, and there are some other local local retail permitted uses that are planned for the other vacant portion of that property. So the subject property in the comprehensive plan was identified as public, semi-public, institutional, because churches and schools generally do not change as land uses, and so that was carried forward because it was church property. But the property is actually currently zoned as local retail. So even without the zoning change, the property could be developed with local retail uses that are permitted by right. This again is the area of request, and again shows that the property is zoned local retail with some adjacency to residential to the east. City of Dallas is on the west side of Clark Road. Again, primarily retail in the area. There is a recently constructed Super Walmart in the city of Dallas on the other side of Clark Road. The applicant is requesting the change of zoning and the development plan for a 4,810 square foot automated car wash with self-service vacuums. Again, I mentioned that the portion of the vacant property to the north of the church will be developed. They are proposing their hours of operation Monday through Saturday with the hours listed there, and again Sundays 8 to 8 p.m. If you all are familiar with automated car washes that are kind of the norm now, they are guided through the tunnel car wash. And the vacuums are self-service. The applicant has indicated, unlike some of them that have the vacuums accessed 24 hours a day, this particular facility, the vacuums are only operational during the hours of operation for the car wash. The building is set back approximately 73 feet from the neighboring residential property to the east. And again, the vacuums are housed primarily inside the building to help to minimize some of that noise that may be of a concern. Again, under the current zoning, a full-service car wash is a permitted use by right. So there's always this question of what is considered full service. Generally speaking, that is more of a hand wash, hand dry, detailing type of operation. So they could do that type of operation by right under the current zoning. However, since they are having the automated car wash, which is a little bit, again, more modern in terms of a prototype, that is not permitted by the current zoning, which is required by which requires the zoning change. The applicant is required to provide a parking for the use. They are providing 41 spaces, which 26 of those have the vacuum hoses that are accessible from those parking spaces. The applicant has designed the site to maximize stacking on site to ensure that we don't have backup onto Clark Road. Should be mentioned also that there will be some shared access with the other commercial development that will occur north of the proposed car wash. The applicant is proposing an 80 to 90% masonry product. And again, the building will not have any windows or anything facing the adjacent residential area. Generally, that can be a concern for residents. The applicant is required to comply with all of our landscaping and screening requirements, including a 6-foot-tall masonry screening wall with trees planted along that wall. That actually will be the requirement for all of that development that's zoned local retail adjacent to the residential district. Again, residential is to the east, the church is to the south, but it is zoned local retail, and again, retail and commercial area along South Clark Road. One of the concerns that generally comes up with this type of use is potentially any noise that might be generated from the car wash. The applicant included some information related to the types of vacuum systems that they use, where they had a noise study conducted, and shows that the equipment is generally, as far as the noise production, is generally consistent with what you would hear just on a typical 6-lane street like South Clark Road or Wheatland. Again, this is the aerial of the area. Future land use. So retail and commercial establishments are generally appropriate along high visibility locations such as a major thoroughfare such as South Clark Road. With the property already being zoned local retail and the operation of the full service car wash being allowed, it would generally be appropriate for this type of use to be located here. There were 5 notices sent out for this public hearing. We did receive 2 responses of opposition, but we actually realized that it's the same address in your packet that was submitted, but those were received in opposition. And part of their concern was related to traffic, noise, and possible increase in crime, which is generally what you hear when you have residential adjacency adjacent to commercial. But again, even without the zoning change, a local retail use could be developed there by right. This is the development plan. It doesn't look very good in the PowerPoint presentation, but it just shows the location of the building to the north and the parking to the south closest to the church property. Here are some photos, just some examples of some of the car washes that the applicant has developed in other cities. They actually sent me some more photos, but it was too late to include in the PowerPoint presentation of more of a closer prototype, which is generally primarily masonry that they have done and believe in Grand Prairie, but the applicant can confirm that he is here tonight. Again, some more pictures. The Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend approval of the request with the conditions because it is a planned development. It does have conditions associated with it and the associated development plan, which was included in your packet. The applicant is available for questions, as am I, if you have any.
Thank you. Since this is a public hearing, I'm going to open the public hearing at 8:03 p.m. And in accordance with our rules and procedures, the individuals that wish to speak in favor or in opposition to this will have an aggregate time of 10 minutes per position. So at this time, anybody wishing to speak in favor of this, please approach. And please state your name and address for us.
It's Girish Patel and 8950 Grand Avenue, North Richmond Hills. And I'm here representing Q Car Wash. We are the developers of the site. And I think Chastity went over most of the stuff that I was going to say. But
I'm having a difficult time here. Can we?
Is it okay?
Can that mic? Can that mic pick him up a little better? Or maybe about the handheld? Oh, there you go.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Better, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, well, I just said Chastity made most of the points I was going to make anyway. So, and we're looking. We are the developers for this site, and we plan to build a environmentally conscious, eco-friendly tunnel car wash on the site, which is the northeast corner of Clark and Wheatland, right adjacent to the church there. So I'd just like to highlight a few things that we do. We have 5 locations right now in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and we use all biodegradable detergents, soaps, and everything in the wash, so that nothing contaminated goes into the storm drains. And let's see, the site is very well lighted and safe environment for customers. And we have a beautiful landscaping there, as you might be able to see with the drawings up there. And let's see. Normally, if you wash a car at your house in the driveway, you use about 150 gallons for the car. And our car wash, we wash a car with 25 gallons, and 80% of that is recycled. So essentially, you know, we're saving a lot of water, and that much less contamination goes into the storm drains. Let's see, one more thing. Just last thing I'd like to say is that we intend to be a good citizen of the community, and hope for a favorable response from the council. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Please state your name and address.
Hi, my name is Viran Nana. My address is 2924 Harlanwood Drive, Fort Worth 76109. And I'm part of the applicant group. And I just want to say a few things. We used to build hotels, and until 2008 when the market crashed. Before that, we always wanted to get into something that was good for the environment, like recycling or something. And after 2008, we couldn't do any hotels, so we started looking at recycling. And we were at a conference in Edmonton, and the speaker starts talking about car washes, which recycle 80% of the water and their positive carbon footprint and all that kind of stuff. And it kind of sounded exciting, so we started doing research, and 4 years later, we opened our first wash and in Fort Worth. And now we have 5 locations. The closest location is in Grand Prairie at I-20 and Great Southwest Parkway. If you go about a block south, there's a new Aldi there, and it's right next to the Aldi. And I must say we're very, very proud of that location. We're proud of all of our locations. because we want to change the experience which people are used to from car washes. So we feel like we want to be the quick trip of the car washes. That's what our goal is, to provide a clean, spacious, well-lit, well-landscaped, beautiful environment with friendly staff, that people have good experiences and they feel like coming and keeping the cars clean. So that's what we're trying to do. So some other businesses did similar, is like Discount Tire, how they changed the tire business. And now you go to a Discount Tire, it's a great experience. And we're trying to do the same thing in the car wash business. So thank you for your support.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Any other individuals wishing to speak in favor? Seeing none, closing this portion of the public hearing at 8:08. Any individuals wishing to speak in opposition? Seeing none, closing that portion of the public hearing at 8:08. And the chair will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So move. Second.
We have a motion to close and a second. Please vote on closing the public hearing. Thank you. The public hearing is closed. And with the agreed upon procedures of the council, at this point we will open this particular item to discussion before taking a motion. Is there any discussion? Mr. Harvey.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to ask either one or both of the applicants, have you gone out into some of the neighbors that are behind your property to talk with them about your plans for development of this property? Have you gotten an opportunity to speak with them or exchange with them or engage with them about the property?
Sir, we have not. We did ask this planning offices for a list of homeowners association, because we've done that before, but it seems like there is not an association there, so we were not able to get anybody, any kind of homeowners association to contact.
Okay. Seeing no further discussion, the chair will entertain a motion.
I will make a motion to approve it. However, I do have some concerns. I do have concerns about the impact that this property will have on the residences directly behind it. There were 2 letters that came forth in opposition, and I am aware that there has been opposition expressed to this particular development by the neighbors. So I am going to make a motion that this be approved. However, I will say that I am going to vote against it because of the concerns of the neighbors. I am going to vote against it, and I would encourage my fellow council members to vote against it as well.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second if we're voting to approve. Is that what is your motion to approve it?
Is motion to approve?
Yeah,
We have a second. Please vote. The motion to approve is denied. I'm not sure everybody understands what just happened here.
Denied it.
This council is divided on its opinion of land use for this particular property for a car wash that could benefit our community. Unfortunately, this council voted against it. My personal comment. Moving on to item 5B. Consider approval of an ordinance repealing Chapter 10, Garbage and Trash in its entirety and replacing with a new Chapter 10, Garbage and Trash. Ms. Carlson.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, distinguished members of the Duncanville City Council, City Manager, City Attorney, City Secretary. I am Jacqueline Colton. I'm the Assistant Director of Public Works, and I am here to garner your approval of amendments to the Duncanville City Code, Chapter 10, related to garbage and trash. The reason for that we are proposing amendments is we want to bring our city code into alignment with the contract that we recently negotiated and approved with Republic. That contract was actually approved on July the 16th, 2019 for essential government services of trash collection. Not very many things changed regarding the level of service that we now received. However, bulk and brush pickup collection did change, as well as recycling collection. The effective date of that contract was September the 21st, 2019, and operationally, the bulk and brush changes went into effect on October the 7th. So for this reason, we're proposing to change the ordinance to align with the new contract. So I'm going to go section by section, but only hitting those sections which are, of major importance. I'm not going to cover every section, but we had some changes in definitions, basically to provide a definition for bags, which sets a maximum bag weight of 35 pounds, which is consistent with the contract. We have a definition added for bundle. As we are all aware, bulk and brush must be bundled with a width not exceeding 4 feet nor poundage of 50 pounds. And then we added a definition for recycle cart, which is a new service being offered by the city. Citizens have the opportunity to contract directly with Republic for the use of a recycle cart of 96 gallons, or actually there are various sizes that they can contract with Republic for. Okay, section 10-2, duties of residential and small commercial hand collect customers. Basically, those customers must use the bags as the approved trash container, and then we're asking that they notify us if Republic fails to collect trash on collection day, because we want to ensure that our city, stays looking pristine. And so that is one of the things that we're requiring of our citizens. Okay, section 10.3 basically deals with garbage and trash collection. And essentially nothing has changed there. However, we are stating that customers should not place their trash out for collection prior to the day of collection. So, no place in the trash the evening before. If you want to place it 12 midnight, that's acceptable. But that's one of the changes that we're proposing.
So Jackie, go back to that, that's all right. Back up to that, I need to write that down.
Would you back up to go back to that last slide for just a second, please?
Okay.
10, that was 10-2. All right, thank you. Proceed.
You have any questions?
No, I do, but I was all with you finish. I won't interrupt.
Okay, okay, thank you. Okay. And section 10-3.1 is where we address the bundled brush collection. And we've talked about the 4-foot lengths and the fact that the brush needs to be bundled, and we talked about the 50-pound weight. Collection will occur only 1 week during the month for each customer. It used to be, there was unlimited brush and bulk, every week or so. But now, it will only be picked up during a designated week during the month. And acceptable bulk items, appliances, furniture, mattresses, hot water heaters, fencing materials. Unacceptable bulk items include tires, carpet, flammables, and hazardous waste. And the city does sponsor hazardous waste collection events during the year to collect those items. Okay, next, this is just a pictorial representation of what 4 cubic yards might look like and what bundles look like. Also, if a citizen has more than 4 cubic yards of bulk or brush, they may contract either with Republic or a third-party contractor to haul that bulk and brush in excess of 4 cubic yards away. So the city has made a concerted effort to notify our citizens of these changes. We've had mailers, we've used social media, we've had a town hall meeting. We're also placing yard signs out in the neighborhoods the week prior to the bulk and brush collection week to let them know that, okay, you need to, prepare your items and place them out for, your collection week is coming up. And we ask that those items be placed by the Monday of the collection week at 7 a.m. And this is just a representation of our map, and you see there are 4 areas, and depending upon where your property is will determine what week the bulk and brush will be collected. Okay, recycling is another area where we're making changes. The city has always or has provided recycling bins for the citizens' use. We are adding the recycling carts, which we've talked about previously. These carts may be rented directly from Republic for a small fee, and that fee is currently $4.75 a month. But the city is not involved in that process. It's a direct transaction between the customer and Republic. And then also, in order to ensure that the carts and bins are not unsightly and are not kept, at the streetway or at the alleyway, we're requiring them to be hidden on those non-collection days. And then also recyclables, of course, must be clean, empty, and dry, and so uncontaminated. And the most notable thing about the recycling items is glass is no longer an acceptable item for recycle. We've made changes to the ordinance to reflect the fact that our garbage rates will be adopted as a part of the master fee schedule. And actually, those rates for this year were adopted when we adopted the budget last month. And then commercial institutional entities may contract directly with Republic for services, which is the current practice. We've made changes to Section 10.8 related to private collection and disposal because that is now a contracted, well, it's been a contracted function, but there were provisions, antiquated provisions related to permits and licenses, which we are proposing for deletion. Okay, also, if you contract with a company to come in and cut your trees and brush, then you're responsible for ensuring the removal of that debris and brush. We will not, or Republic will not pick it up unless you contract with them, or you also have the option of contracting with a third party for that brush and bulk collection. Okay, the holidays, the trash holidays have been identified as New Year's Day, Independence Day, Labor Day, Thanksgiving, Christmas. And then the normal collections hours are 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And we're also modifying the ordinance to provide for collection support to the mobility impaired. Basically, if you are impaired, mobility impaired, and cannot, take your trash to the appropriate place for collection, you can call the city, and the city will work with Republic to vet your circumstance and get you approved for that service. And there is no additional fee for that service. So staff is recommending approval of the proposed ordinance changes to Chapter 10.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Mr. Cooks.
Yes, I was looking back at the item on 10.2. We need to consider one or two things. One, the trash pickup at 7 a.m. And then I looked at 10.3.1. So let me just talk first about one. So the 7 a.m. pickup, which means that a person could not put their trash out until the morning of the day of pickup or after midnight, which many won't do. So when you look at that, that means that at 6:30 in the morning, our seniors who gets their trash picked up would have to wake up at 6:30 in the morning if they don't do it at midnight to put their trash out. My thought would be either we move that time back up to 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, giving them time to put their trash out, or we allow them to put their trash out a day before their trash pickup, maybe in the afternoon or something, versus having it at 7 a.m. I just see that as too much inconvenience for seniors and for others versus being 7 a.m. I know that I've heard from one citizen that who wants to comply with putting their trash out, but their trash is actually picked up at 7 a.m., so that means they need to get up at 6:30 to put their trash out. So I'm asking that we make an adjustment either to one or two items, either 10-2 to move that 7 a.m. time to maybe to 8 a.m., giving people time to do it, or else making a recommendation that we look at the time to put it out a day before, a day before or the evening of their trash day. One of the two items.
I mean, we can definitely go back and talk with Republic. I know that they have their plans and their routes are all mapped out. I don't really recommend the earlier pick or set out because, again, our containers for residential are bags. And as a result, if we put them out overnight, we have a problem. We would have a problem with cats and dogs and birds and possums getting into those bags overnight. And what we're trying to do is mitigate the exposure of our trash to pests.
And I would agree with that. Actually, I stayed corrected. I just got a note that says they're actually picking it up at 6:45 versus 7 a.m. But still, that 7 a.m. is still real early for seniors. I'm not sure who, I mean, just taking our seniors in consideration, I'm not sure if they get up at 6:30 in the morning, unless you're leaving home. But that's just too early for our seniors to get up to put their trash out.
Well, again, I guess subject to guidance of the council, we would have to go back and understand the impact of that on the current contract.
Does Republic actually intend to begin picking up trash at 7, or are they asking for that 7 o'clock as a buffer to make sure it's out by the time they start working at 8?
They actually start at 7 o'clock in the morning.
They do?
Yes,
well,
sir.
Again, a note from a person, I just got it, Mayor, who just said, they were starting now, theirs picked up at 6:45 a.m.
Yeah.
So maybe they started early that day, but 6:45 was the earliest this person was picked up.
Well, yeah, and they should not be starting at 6:45 a.m. in the morning. If that should happen, then, you know, we need to notify Republic.
Yeah, I just still think that 7 a.m. is real early for a senior to get up and go take their trash out. And they're not going to do, and if they go to bed, I mean, I know the mayor go to bed at 7 o'clock, right? Oh, maybe not 7, okay. Well, we know that some of the seniors go to bed pretty early, and so.
Now you're accusing me of being a senior and going to bed early.
That's my friend.
You want to continue with this?
That's my friend. So, but no, seriously, but even with that, that is extremely early for our seniors to put their trash out in the morning, and unsafe to put it out at midnight.
Well, somebody on staff explained to us the impact of what's being discussed here.
Well, I mean, I think you were going to say something. I guess the main thing tonight is the ordinance has set forth to you tonight specifies a 7 a.m. No later than time. And so my assumption, I guess, subject to the city attorney, is if we want to do an amendment to the ordinance as presented to you tonight, which does specify 7 a.m. for both bulk and brush and garbage and recycling, then I guess that would have to be something that is done through the dais. Is that correct?
Correct. We would actually recommend, if you're going to make any substantial changes like that, that we should actually table this item to reconsider. Because if you adopt it as written now, then you have to come back later, amend the ordinance, depending on what staff does. So if you do want to make that substantive change, we would recommend that you actually table the item to give the staff the opportunity to amend the ordinance accordingly.
So I'd like to make a well, I don't care about any comments. If not, I'll make a motion.
Before doing that, is there any other discussion from anyone else on council about this? Mr. Hugman.
If you want to table it, I would ask that the council give us input on what you prefer. Because if we start later, then we have to go back to Republic, and that impacts their schedules. And that could mean, I don't know how late they run their trucks, but in the wintertime when you have shorter days, it could be a problem. If you set it for allowing the bags to be set out the night before, then tell us what time, but recognize that we have problems already with trash bags being put out the night before and animals tearing into it. And then it's not Republic's responsibility to pick up that trash that's blown everywhere, but they will get the complaints, we will get the complaints. So it is council's option, but give us an input if you're going to table it. Tell us which is your preferred option so we can explore it and come back with that change.
So if it's going to change the contract for, first I'd like us to see Republic's thought on if it could be a little bit later, or what area is going to be later for. Maybe if the area they're going to start at 7 a.m., perhaps that area is really notified that they could either put it out early or something versus 7 a.m. or
But,
second.
well, you can stop right there because anything, what you're saying is that you're directing staff to go back and talk, which means we have to table this item. We have no choice.
I recommend
We really have no choice, but we have to comply with what Mr. Hugman is asking, that we have got to give some parameters to staff to discuss with Republic.
And that's what I was getting, parameters. That was my statement, giving parameters.
All right, so set that very specifically.
Yes. The parameters, again, would be going back to Republic and adjusting that timetable of 7 a.m., their first pickup from 7 a.m. to even to 8 a.m., giving seniors time to put their trash out. Or it's going to be back on our end, which we did hear from the rest of the council, whether we allow people to put their trash out at 7 p.m. the day before their pickup, knowing that they also are responsible for picking up any trash that gets outside of that bag.
Is that sufficient enough, Mr. Remy?
Yes, sir. We will definitely, I guess my comment would be, certainly we can go back and look at the 8 a.m. Start time versus the 7 a.m. start time. The concern I have with the 7 p.m. and the understanding is I don't know how realistic that is. Is an expectation, because we have folks that, you know, that continue to, we have those problems now already. I would be really concerned about the garbage sacks getting into by.
Yeah, I'm not in favor of doing anything for overnight.
I don't think that would.
No, I think the only thing that we really need to look at here in terms of what's responsible and effective is just changing it from 7 to 8, seeing what that impact is on Republic, and that's basically the only thing we really need to look at.
Then if not, I mean, those are two that I just thought of based upon the U.S. recommendation. I would ask, maybe perhaps city manager, you guys come back with some thoughts as well. If you guys, I mean, even though our discussion, if you have any thoughts for us to add to it, or Republic may have some that they can add to it as well.
Mr. Anderson?
I make a motion, we approve it as it's presented to us tonight.
We have a motion to approve as stated, and we have a second. We've had our discussion, and in accordance with what we as a council have agreed upon in terms of our procedures, we have discussion, we have a motion that's been made, and at that point, there's no further discussion. It is now time to vote based on that motion that's been made to approve the item as stated before us. So please vote. The item is approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 5C, consider a resolution approving the sign control board grant of a 25 square foot area variance to allow 225 feet 225 square feet of highway signage for Papa's Barbecue located at 230 West Highway 67, Duncanville, Texas.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I'm Jim Schlachter, the building official for the City of Duncanville. Sign control board variance request for Papa's Barbecue. The resolution is to grant an extra 25 square foot of highway signage for Papa's Barbecue at 230 West Highway 67. On 9/12, the sign control board voted unanimously to accept this. It gives them an extra 12.5%. Their location of the sign is, you can see on their site plan, the restaurant is getting completion. It should open in January. This is what the sign is going to look like. It's a message board. They're asking for the extra square footage on the bottom, which will help them for holidays, specials, things like this, to, you know, job description or sign description. Staff and the sign control board recommends you approve the extra 25 square feet.
Thank you. Any discussion? Mr. McBurnett?
Motion approved. Second.
We have a motion to approve, and we have a second. Please vote. Item is approved. Thank you. Item 5D, consider a resolution authorizing Linebarger, Goggin, Blair, and Sampson LLP to obtain an order of sale which will allow for the foreclosure of and to authorize the sale of the properties by Dallas County at public sale in accordance with Section 34.05 of the Texas Property Tax Code for the following properties: 1007 Hill City Drive, 614 Holly Lane, 118 Jewel Drive, 367 Softwood Drive, and 371 Softwood Drive. Mr. Summerlin.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. So a very quick recap of the foreclosure process. Lawsuits filed to recover unpaid delinquent taxes and liens, and a judgment's entered, and then we bring to council to approve the foreclosure. After that, an order of sales requested and issued by the court, and then a notice of sales issued by Dallas County Sheriff's Office, and then the Sheriff's Office conducts the public sale. And if it's not sold at the Sheriff's sale, it's listed with Dallas County's resale program if they accept it. And I will note that 2 of the properties tonight, the Dallas County resale program will not accept those, and I'll get to that. The first 3 properties, the 1007 Hill City Drive, 614 Holly Lane, and 118 Jewel Drive, the county has agreed to accept those into their resale program. And then 367 and 371 Softwood Drive, those they will not accept. Those are vacant lots. And what I've done here is tallied up the total judgment amount for each of those properties. So you can see on Hill City Drive, only $27,981 judgment. The current appraised value, $152,810. Holly Lane, 118, 164 for total judgment with an appraised value of $105,000. And then Jewel Drive at $23,328 judgment versus the $60,680 appraised value. And then the Softwoods both are at $54,900 and some change with appraised values of $45,000 each. Staff would recommend approval of these to move forward to be considered for sheriff's sale and or to be struck off to the city.
Move to approve. Second.
We have a motion to approve, and we have a second. Please vote. The item is approved. Moving on to item 5E. Consider a resolution adopting a charity care policy as required by the State of Texas Ambulance Supplemental Payment Program. Chief Ryan.
Mayor and Council, Chief Rhodey has accused me of having a tendency to ramble when I get up here, so I'm going to try to keep this brief.
Are you done yet?
So this is to try to clear up more the transition to our charity care policy that's done through our billing department. This is also done as a division of our billing department, so it's all one company. And our billing company is Change Healthcare. It was McKesson before, if that name sounds familiar. It's a large organization, lots of members, very high technology provider as far as this goes. So an overview of the supplemental payment program, if you hear me call it TASPP because they added in the word services over the last couple of years. We've done this since 2014. It started in 2009. In 2017, up until then, we were told every year it was going to end, it's going to end, and it's going to end. It's supplemental money for shortages as far as ambulance bills go. And we were told it was going to end. And finally, in 2017, they, through the state, through a waiver, they told us they were going to extend it all the way through 2022. This is very good news for the city of Duncanville. It's part of a state and federally approved program through HHSC, the Health and Human Services Commission out of Texas. Centers for Medicare and Medicaid, they're the ones who are requiring it. There is no Medicare fees involved with it. It's strictly just Texas Medicaid. And then people that are uninsured are the only 2 that fall into this. It's a payment program for Medicaid and uninsured transports. We began participating in this in 2014. It currently reimburses fire departments and ambulance services based on Medicaid and uninsured patient transports. This is on top of what we collect on our billing, our ambulance billing. There's no fire department that I know of that makes any money doing this. It's just one of those things that we offer our citizens. Our participation has generated significant revenue as far as this is strictly the supplemental payments in 2014. You can see what we started with. We've collected as much as $357,000 in supplemental funds. That was in 16 and 17. We lost just a little bit. This year we were expecting big revenue based off of 18's numbers, but because of some lawsuits and litigation leveraged against some children's hospitals, some state children's hospitals, that number significantly dropped. So we don't expect that to happen again. Next year, our estimate is back up to $260,000. So far, we've made $1.25 million in supplemental funds off of this. To continue doing this, we have to have a charity policy in place, and that's for the Medicaid and uninsured. The charity policy only occurs for the uninsured patients, not underinsured, strictly self-pays and underinsured companies. It's only for a portion of that are deemed charity. The reason this kind of drug out for us is we had a policy already in place for not charity care. We called it a hardship application. So they could bring in their W-2s and fill out some forms, and we could write off their bill or make a payment plan with them. We thought that qualified as a charity plan. This charity, they said it was too restrictive, and the state took a while to get back to us to tell us it wasn't going to qualify. It has to be strictly charity that our billing company can understand and apply at the billing company, not something we do ourselves. We thought about using the federal poverty guidelines as this, but it requires way too much paperwork to be able to do it in a timely fashion. So to get this money, CMS is mandating that we reimburse only for a portion of that. Those patients where there is no expectation of payment on the ambulance bill, we don't have a charity class of patient as far as our current policies. And the Change Healthcare, our billing company, needs to have billing software platform that can make charity determinations on their own. Each provider must implement a charity policy guidelines, and it needs to be reviewed and approved by the city. And the guidelines must detail charity determination process. The process is similar to what Blue Cross Blue Shield, Cigna, and Medicare currently use for their patients. The billing software platform will be able to identify charity patients that do not have third-party insurance, such as health insurance, auto insurance, as far as an accident goes, and do not have the ability to pay, and there's no expectation of payment. They will use a payment predictor interface, also called the payment predictor model, that is currently with Experian, that takes into account their financial, demographic, credit, and other variables. So everybody has a credit score. And whether you know it or not, you also have a credit score that's based off of how you pay your health bills, your medical bills. And so they use your credits, your health credit score to determine whether you're ever going to pay these or not. And it's a quick and easy way to do it so it doesn't get drug out for months and months. Once determined as charity, there are no further collections. So what needs to be done? We need to approve this by October 1st. I don't think we're going to make that. So, since we didn't have a council meeting last time, we had to push it out till this. It may delay ours, but if we can get it approved pretty quick, I think we can still salvage the month of October as far as that money goes. Any questions?
One question. The determination of the ability to pay, that's made after the transport, I'm presuming, or is it made during the transport?
Oh, no, we don't collect any of that information. Actually, good news, since we went up and talked to Charlton about our deal, our gross collections went from 26 to 35%.
Wow, very good.
Our net ones, if you take out Medicare, Medicaid, because you're not going to get any more from them, we're up to almost 70% collections on that. So it's worked out really good. So it's done after that. We put a 60-day policy instead of the recommended 30 days, just for that extra time.
Any other questions for Chief Ryan? Chair will entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion to approve and a second. Please vote. Motion is passed. Thank you. We are deferring item 5F until later and moving on to item number 6, staff and board reports. Receive the monthly financial report as of August 31st, 2019. Mr. Summerlin.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. So as of August 31st, that's the 11th month, and so our benchmark is that we should be at about 92% of our budget, both for revenues and expenditures. To go over the general fund very quickly, we had an ending unreserved fund balance of $11.1 million. 30 days of operations, and that's based on the 2019 adopted budget. It's about $6.4 million in excess of the benchmark 75-day reserve. Our current property tax collections, 99.6% of the budget. Our sales tax revenues at 74.8% of the budget. And the data here, of course, reflects 9 months because we have 2 months in arrears for collection from the state. So we're pretty close to the 75% benchmark that would represent. Overall, the general fund revenues are 91.2% of the budget, and expenditures exclusive of one-time projects are at 82% of budget. So this is our graph. As you can see, our purple line is the how revenues would look if they were earned equally over time for the entire budget. And then the blue line is our 3-year average, 3 years in the past. And then the red line that you see is as our actuals. Then if we look at our general fund revenue for lasering out property taxes, you can see how those collections come in very early in the fiscal year during the December, January, February time frame, and then of course those taper off over time. Our general fund revenue sales tax, we're just a little bit above the 3-year average, but of course our anticipation is that we're going to fall a little bit short of budget due to the loss of some of our major sales tax payers. Then if we look at our expenditures, you can see that those are trending right along about that 3-year average and hope to come in a little bit under budget. Utility fund summary, the ending unreserved fund balance, $3.3 million, 64 days of operations. Utility solid waste fund revenues, of course, they have a 1-month delay due to our billing process, so there's only 10 months or 84% of the revenue reflected at the present. Overall, utility fund revenues are at 83.4% of the budget, and overall utility fund expenditures are at 84% of budget. Same graph, this is look at our utility fund revenues, and you can see how typically in past years when we've had real dry years, that 3-year average comes up significantly over where we budgeted on those revenues. We've trended along below that, but we're making progress towards getting to our budgeted amount, and feel very confident that we'll be pretty well on target on our revenues. Our expenditures, of course, have trended along the line below budget, and we anticipate that we'll end the year slightly below on our expenditures. Our one-time project funds here highlighted in yellow are those that are essentially complete. The other ones are still open and we're working on them. And at the present, we have a little over $80,000 of unallocated savings overall for all the one-time projects. And I'll entertain any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Summerlin? Thank you. Item 6B, receive Police Department Quarterly Report. Good evening.
Mayor, Council, City Manager, my name is Lieutenant Estelle. I'm here to present the Police Department's quarterly report for the months of July through September 2019. The next several slides that we're going to see are the Police Department's work plan as it concerns the Council's capstones 1, 2, 5, and 6. Objective number 1.22, review and implement feasible recommendations from the International Chiefs of Police Association retention study. It's an ongoing project. Recently, we've partnered with SmartForce, which is a software platform that's going to enable us to communicate better internally and externally, also help us with recruiting and officer wellness. That training is scheduled to begin in November, and I'm not sure the implementation date yet. Next objective, 2.32, educate the public regarding police department activities. Some of the things that we've done to do this, activities through social media and media. Some of the things we've done is we held our first open house on August 31st. We've organized tours of the police station to allow citizens to come in and see how the police department works. We've also instituted the microdot property marking technology. We use social media and the media when we were looking for the missing Alzheimer's patient, and we believe that we received some positive response from our citizens for our use of those platforms. We also produced an in-house video concerning the Safe Exchange Zone that's located in front of the police department. It's lighted and recorded, and we encourage people that use the secondary markets such as Craigslist or OfferUp to use that area to exchange their goods. Objective 2.33 is the migration to the new Zerker software records management system. This is an ongoing project concerning Duncanville, Cedar Hill, DeSoto, and Southwest Regional Communications, our dispatch center. They are going to transfer all of our current records management systems over to their platform. They've already sent out their power user trainers and trained all 3 cities. The training for our officers is going to begin in December, and we hope that the go-live date is going to be January 22nd of 2020. Objective 3.07, to train and develop current and future leaders. Listed here are some of the supervisors that have attended several different trainings. One of them was the FBI LEADA training. We had Sergeant Emmett, Sergeant McCarty, and Wilcox attended a Valor training leadership workshop that's geared towards officer safety and wellness. We're also participating in a regional first responder resiliency program. That's a grant-funded program. The reason why we're getting this training, and we've established a task force, a safety and wellness task force. Some of the numbers that indicate there is the number of suicides within the law enforcement community as compared to the line of duty deaths. Civil service exam will be held November 2nd, 2019. Anybody interested has to drop a card by October 25th at 3 o'clock. Citizens or interested applicants can go to the website there and submit their card. In October, the first week of October, first few weeks, we hired 4 applicants, and they are going to start the police academy on October 21st. We hired a 5th applicant, but he's considered a lateral transfer from Los Angeles Police Department, and he will begin his training on October 28th. We lost 1 officer to a transfer, or a resignation and a transfer to Irving PD, and that leaves the police department with 5 vacancies. 2 of our most recent graduates, Darius Rogers and Luis Alvarez, graduated on October 4th from the Regional Police Academy. They're currently doing their in-service training and will begin their field training shortly. The next several slides are going to be pictures and some information about some of our community involvement. Everyone remembers the 4th of July events. It seemed like it was relatively incident-free. Everyone had a good time. Officer Sisk partnered with the local Hotel and Lodging Association to present a human trafficking education session. That was in August. The 59th Citizens Police Academy class began in August, and there are 12 citizens enrolled in that class. Detective Berger, Officer Doug Sisk did a fraud presentation for some employees at the city credit union back in September. Here you see Officer Michelle Arias there in the middle. She participated in a back-to-school event back in August with the Westwood Square Apartment citizens. Here are some pictures of our open house. All the citizens that were there, many volunteers, officers. Top left you see Assistant Chief in the dunk tank there. Everyone had a good time with that. Here are some more photos. See the mayor down here, he was there. During that open house, we did the anti-theft tailgate markings with the ProTech DNA nano tags. We were able to put those tags on 25 tailgates belonging to our citizens. This is a brand new camera system that we took possession of in cooperation with the Duncanville Economic Development Board. It is a solar powered dual camera trailer system. The picture on the right is where it was its first deployment, which is actually on the west side there at the Costco parking lot. It's mainly going to be used in high-traffic commercial areas, motel areas, restaurants, things like that. Some of the activity for the months covered. We had 2 use of force incidents. Both were found to be within departmental policy. 2 vehicle pursuits that were found to be outside of the policy, and remedial training was conducted. We had 1 internal complaint for dereliction of duty. That complaint was sustained, and there was an internal complaint for a policy violation, or 2 of those, and both complaints were sustained, resulting in disciplinary action. Here are some of the community interactions that we had during those months. Let's see, the August 650 plus, we estimated approximately 500 people at our open house, so that really boosted that number. Our volunteer coordinator, Randy Cosby, retired last day of September after 12 years of dedicated service. And we are currently reviewing applications within the department to find his replacement. I think over the last several months, you've all become familiar with NIBRS, the National Incident-Based Reporting System, the Group A offenses that are listed here. We'll go into some of those and what's been reported here. Here are the Group A offenses for July through September. On the left are the ones that are said to have been occurred. The middle, the unfounded, the actual, and then the cleared by arrest stat is on the far right.
For 1 month?
Those are 3-month stats, so July, August, and September. And here are the July through September. These are the most reported, the burglaries and the thefts, so we've consolidated these into one slide. You look at the bottom, it tells you exactly which ones were reported. Here's a comparison from the previous quarter of those same thefts and burglaries that were reported. You can see there seems to be a couple large increases and a large decrease, but you can see with the number of crimes that were actually reported, 1 or 2 is going to make a large difference. The overall, it shows to be down 14%. These are the July 2019 burglaries and thefts plotted on our city map. The ledgers there, the stats are on the left. Here are the burglaries and thefts for August. And September.
There doesn't seem to be any pattern emerging for motor vehicle thefts. They're just all over the place. If you look at the 3 months.
We find that they're near the large thoroughfares typically. People take one of our major thoroughfares to get off into the neighborhood or into a business, and that's where that happens. Any questions?
I have one question.
Yes, sir.
I was speaking to a potential applicant recently, and they have taken the civil service test for the possibility of being law enforcement at DFW Airport. And I said, well, you know, we've got one coming up in November. And he asked the question, do I have to take your civil service test if I took the civil service test for DFW Airport law enforcement? I don't have an answer for that. But it does bring up the question, is our civil service test that we administer different from other cities, or is there a standard test?
Our test is different, and if you were, correct me if I'm wrong, Chief, but we contract someone to write our test. I'm pretty sure. It's been 25 years since I took the civil service test. So, but when I did take it, I took one in DeSoto, I took one here, I took one, and all the civil service agencies take a separate test. It's not the same test with the same answers.
So it's significantly different that we would not accept a good grade from someone taking a test at another location.
They would have to take our test
would we
and pass
waive
our
them
test.
taking our test if they took it somewhere else and I guess we don't do that because
No,
ours
sir.
is unique.
Every agency has their own civil service test, and under civil service rules and laws, we have to administer our test. Now, that doesn't mean that we can't go jointly in with other cities and conduct a same test, but it has to be through those procedures, through civil service, I believe. But we can't just accept someone else's just because it was, quote, a civil service test.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Cooks.
I again want to compliment the open house you had outside, and I think
Thank
that
you,
was
sir.
great. I think you had how many people attended? Over 100?
Approximately 500, we estimated.
Great event. Thank you very much for doing that as
Yes,
well.
sir.
I did notice on the report this time that you guys didn't break out the district like you did before. Is that just every other report, or is that the district where you have?
Yes, I'm aware of what you're saying. I was thinking on it. I don't prepare the slides, and I don't say what goes into the slides and what doesn't go into the slides, so
Okay.
I couldn't answer that question. I could find that out and get back to you on that.
Okay. Well, Chief, I'd like if you could just send it out to us like you did before, like you had the one before.
Absolutely.
That's all I had. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. McBurnett.
Lieutenant Estelle, it's good to see you.
Hey, you, sir.
The thing that I guess I wanted to note is that typically crime's heavier in the summer. And we had a reduction in crime based on what I saw from July through September. So I want to commend you again for fine work.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Okay, thanks very much, Lieutenant.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, Chief, received the Fire Department quarterly report. Chief Rhodey.
Mayor, Council, City Manager, I'd like to present the fourth quarter Fire Department report to you guys. We'll start off with our staffing. We have two new hires, Caden Clinton and Colton Kirk. Both these individuals were certified with the Texas Commission on Fire Protection and were EMTs with Department of State Health Services. So we were able to put them through our training program, and they do count for staffing now. That being the case, the fire department currently has 2 vacancies that we are attempting to fill. We just completed a civil service list that we had and have exhausted that list, so we will be testing again probably sometime in the middle of November, end of November. So if you know anybody who is certified as EMT, paramedic, or firefighter, send them our way because we would love to have them. We also have 3 of our firefighters who are firefighter EMTs who are currently at UT Southwestern, and they are getting educated and trained to be a paramedic and come to our system and add 3 additional paramedics to our current roster. We had our awards banquet at the end of August. I wasn't able to be present, but my assistant chief did a good job of awarding our firefighters their accomplishments throughout the year. Our firefighter of the year this year was Tristan Spray. He's one of our newest firefighters, and he's done a very good job for us. I never see that individual ever sitting around. He's always working out, and he's always a team member. So he was well deserving of that award. We also had our paramedic of the year was Robert Shaw. He's a very knowledgeable paramedic, and the guys look up to him for leadership. Our officer of the year was Adam Langan. And our most valuable player of the year was Steve Blanchard. He's done a very good job stepping up as our interim fire marshal. Our community service award was our EMS division chief, Mike Ryan. And our Tim Rife award, which is a special award for the fire department. As you're aware, that's one of our firefighters who had passed from cancer. And that's one of our distinguished awards for lifetime achievement, and that was given to Battalion Chief Robert Gideon. We also have a physical fitness award, and that was given to John Cook. Just to put it bluntly, the guy's really an animal. I was sitting up there watching him as he works out, and I don't think you could exhaust the guy. So it was a real good catch for us because he inspires our other firefighters, and he's a real good leader on physical fitness for the fire department. We have a smoke alarm giveaway that we presented with Pam McAllister, our inspector, and it was given at our Best Southwest Sports summer camp at the field house. And she gave away several smoke alarms back on July 19th to the participants at that summer camp. And the firefighters were also invited at that summer camp to come and have a basketball game with some of the participants at the summer camp, and they really enjoyed going and playing basketball with some of those kiddos. Of course, it was competitive, but they didn't keep score. But the kids really enjoyed being able to play with the firefighters. Another important thing for our Fire Prevention Bureau is we went to give a fire drill at the Duncanville Senior Center on July the 16th. Again, you would be surprised how many people, when a fire alarm goes off, choose not to evacuate. So we went down there and had a fire drill with them, and we examined their evacuation plan and witnessed their evacuation, which was a good point for seeing some of their strengths and weaknesses on their plans of where to gather after they leave the facility, and how to make sure we have everybody out of the facility. We also had our illustrious Assistant Chief Greg Chase. He went to Fire Rescue International, and he was on his second year of Executive Officer certification. He was able to pass both those years and be certified as Executive Officer. He also, since my absence, he was a speaker at the remembrance of the 9/11 catastrophe that we had. He was one of the speakers in the bell ringer at that ceremony. Our community paramedicine program is going very well. EMS Division Chief Mike Ryan and our two community paramedics have gone to the high school, and they taught 80 students CPR and first aid, and these students they are currently participating in the Human Services internship program at the high school. We also had a fire drill at the summer camp at the field house, and that was basically for our staff that currently run the field house. It was a good way of them understanding that they need to follow that fire plan. They need to practice that evacuation fire plan, know their egress from the building, the exits, and how to gather outside and make sure they can account for all the individuals that were inside that facility when they decided to have their fire drill. Tanya Hunter, she's our Emergency Management Coordinator of Operations. She's been conducting consequence management at an active shooter incident tabletops, and she's been conducting that in all 4 of the cities. And this quarter she did Lancaster Nursing and Rehabilitation Center. Our 4th of July event was a huge success, as the police department has already mentioned. But what makes it a success is our after-action planning. And we'll gather together as staff and any kind of the participants, agencies that assist us, such as CERT teams, and we'll go through the process and make sure that we can improve on any kind of event activities that go on, makes it safer and make it a well-planned out event. Tanya Hunter also has been teaching classes to some of the regional partners, and she taught the G300 Immediate Incident Command course to 17 participants, which that class is hard to find. So it's a good thing we have Tanya to be able to go in and instruct our regional partners. We also have done active attack ingredient response to an active shooter. Duncanville is responsive to this active shooter incidents, and we conducted one at the field house back on August the 22nd. Again, we're trying to train for these active shooter events. Some more of our accomplishments: we had an active shooter tabletop with the Duncanville Independent School at Panther Stadium, and we had that tabletop exercise with our city staff and the school staff, and presented a very good event, and a lot of practices that we learned through this exercise. We also did a fire evacuation and shelter-in-place training at our recreation center. Again, it's to go ahead and exercise our plans for sheltering versus any type of fire evacuation. And the staff were able to review that plan, and we'll make any kind of changes that need to be incorporated. We also have a regional shooter workshop that is scheduled for January the 6th to the 7th for all 4 of our cities. Again, we know how much this active shooter has become a big news subject in the society nowadays. So we're trying to make sure our school districts and our city staff are all familiar with this active shooter. Our total calls for service in this last quarter, we had 1,746 calls for service. Might mention that our EMS call for services was 1,298, and we also did 142 inspections of our Priority 1 inspections throughout the city. Our total calls for service for fiscal year 19, we had 6,887. Of those, 5,063 were our EMS calls for service. And then we had inspections completed on our Priority 1 inspections of 1,017. And with that, I can take any type of questions.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions for the Chief? Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much. All right, at this time, we're going to recess City Council at 9:13, and we are going to move to executive session in the briefing room. And we will, just for those in attendance, we will adjourn City Council from the briefing room. When we conclude executive session, we will reopen the door, and we will reset, and we will adjourn from the briefing room. Thank you. Executive session that we are going into. City Council shall convene into a closed executive session pursuant to Section 551.072 of the Texas Government Code, deliberations about real property, to deliberate the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property, to wit, real property is generally located west of State Highway 67, south of Interstate 20, east of Cedar Ridge Santa Fe Road, and north of Daniel Dale Road. Thank you. Yeah, we are adjourned at 9:38.